OTB AM.
With Gillette, proud supporters of Movember. Gentlemen, let's move.
7:30 Friday morning. You're very welcome along to OTB AM. Absolutely packed show, stacked and packed, coming your way between now and 10 this morning. And yes, I know I look like I've just rocked out of bed, and that's not a million miles off the truth. And also trying to grow a mole, so I've got to go through that awkward period initially where I look like as if I just can't be bothered having a shave. So we'll get more details on that a bit later on. But before all of that, Aisling O'Reilly, good morning to you.
Good morning, Adrian. How are you?
I'm all right. The excitement around Meath football, you just thought it couldn't get much higher with everything that's gone on over the last little while. And then you look at the double bill this weekend. And the way it's fallen with Dunboyne being in both of them, it really couldn't have been a more fitting end to the year.
Oh, it really is. There's great excitement around it, a great buzz, and it's just great to see. I think it was maybe 2-3 years ago I was at a double header in Park Talton with the men's, women and men's county teams, and it was a great buzz that day. And now to see the clubs for the very first time doing it is something else. So yeah, it's great excitement, and you can really feel everyone getting behind the women's game in the county now. You feel a shift.
Yeah.
Anywhere you go, people are asking you, and it's just brilliant.
Yeah, and like it's a double bill of games at Park Talton Sunday, obviously, is it?
It's happening on Sunday. Yeah, so the women's game on first, and then the men's are on after. So yeah, Wolftowns and Dunboyne are in the men's. My own Ruthout were knocked out in the semi-final by Wolftowns last week, or 2 weeks ago. Tough game there, but no, it should be very good, and it's great for Dunboyne as well. We have Ronan Jones in there; he's the captain. That was from our Whoop team.
We'll be supporting them all the way, and it's been tough. Mm-hmm. It's been a tough week for Radford. We'll come back to that in a minute. But when you look at like the names, when you look at and you try to evaluate the game, the women's game at the weekend, when you look at Vicky Wall and Emma Duggan in it, and they have other county players there as well. But like even you were talking about the support for the women's game, like even those names now, there's no explanation required. Everybody understands the quality that we're talking about.
This is it, and that's what we wanted for so long, for people to probably know their names and know at what standard we play at. Because I think what happened as well with the women's game for so long was that the All-Ireland finals weren't of that high a standard. You know, we got to that final day when there was 50,000 maybe in Croke Park and tuning in, and then the game itself sort of wasn't at the greatest standard, and you know, maybe that's the only time people tuned in. But this year we got a super final. Obviously, the Meath story was brilliant to back it up. And yeah, there's a new rejuvenation in the game. And as you said, the likes of Vicky Wall, Emma Duggan, and even the club players that play alongside them could easily be up there on the county teams too. So yeah, it's a great weekend ahead.
I was just typing there, Googling what's the capacity of Park Talton. It's 11,000, but it'll hardly be that at the weekend, will it?
Well, I suppose the outside grounds are quite big, so there's, I suppose, possibility, but you never know. You never know. It's cold now, but people might get out because it is 4 great teams in it. So yeah, you never know. Let's hope.
Dunboyne has a population of 7,272 as of a couple of years ago. So, you know, if the entire town turns out, it'll get close. And it might not be, I mean, with a double header, and it was designed up before, it was designed that way long before it was confirmed that Dunboyne were in both. So it's turned out to be a total masterstroke. But the two teams as well, it looks like as if they've been, the men's and women's team, been sort of cheek by jowl for a lot of the year as well, Aisling, in that they're training in the same locations, roughly around the same time. So there's a bit of a crossover there in a way that they might be actually sort of vibing off each other in some ways.
Yeah, and that's a big thing in Dunboyne. Like, I went to school in Dunboyne, and when we used to train, even say with the school team and that, we had to train our school facilities, and the women and the men's was completely separate in their club, separate colours and everything. So only in the last number of years did they actually become one club, and the women's team actually train there, play games and the whole lot. So yeah, it's great to see they really became one. They've their clubhouse and that now, and they're all getting behind each other, and you know, vice versa. You see the men at the women's games, and they just have a good close knit. So yeah, definitely, I do think they're vibing off each other, and yeah, it'll only help come the weekend.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how clubs around the country are are sorting that stuff out at a local level long before it's ever going to get sorted at the very highest levels, which it needs to at some point or another. But yeah, that's interesting. Now, we did mention Ratoath, and like was it last weekend?
Last weekend, yes, we had our semi-final of the championship.
Yeah, go on.
Yes, it was in Dunganny, which was actually another great day. We had all the semi-finals there, junior, intermediate, senior, so it was brilliant. Great day for the whole county, and there was a lot of support out. Anyone that knows Dunganny, it's a training development sort of pitches for the county teams, really. But it's a great setup. But the only thing is, it's really open, so it's very windy. If there's any bit of wind, you'll know all about it in Dunganny. And actually, one of the girls coming off the pitch after the junior game, I knew her, and she said to me, "Whatever you do, play through the hands and keep it low if you're kicking." And I was like, "She's right, okay, grand." But my God, she couldn't prepare you for what it was like.
Wild. And your game was a replay already, was it?
No, it was just a straight semi-final.
Okay.
Yeah, we had never met them before. It was actually Aideen Leahy, her team, Navan O'Mahony's, who we had on there a few weeks ago. Me and you were chatting to her. So, yeah, I ended up in the semi against her. But, so we played normal time. We got a penalty in the last kick of the game of normal time. And as I was literally just placing the ball, the referee came up beside me and said, last kick, do or die. And I just remember looking at him going, will you go away?
And you were taking the penalty?
Yeah, enough pressure as it is, do or die. I looked at him and was like, right, go away.
What is that? Jeez, of all the things to be said, I mean, maybe it's fair enough. Maybe it's right that you would know, there's no point in knocking this one over the bar, like.
No, but I knew myself. Yeah. They said his last kick, we're down 3 points. But anyway, got the penalty. We went extra time.
Hang on now a second. Got the penalty. Go on. What happened?
We got the penalty. Yes.
But like, what? Where did you place it? Where did the keeper go? Come on.
Yeah. Well. So I just placed it. I had my left footer. So the goalie went to the right, and I kicked it up in the left top hand corner. Oof. It just went right. I practiced during the week because something told me we were going to have a penalty. And yeah, I was practicing during the week. So anyway, we got the penalty. Huh?
Postage stamp. Is that what we're talking about here?
Jesus, no. I was just delighted we got it. Yeah. So we were pumped then going into extra time, and we were the better team. I'm not even just saying that, we were the better team through the game. But anyways, went into extra time, and we were up 5 points with 10 minutes to go. So half time of extra time, up 5 points. I thought, all we to do now, girls, just hold on, 10 minutes. They had the wind in the next half, so I knew it was going to be tough. So anyways, we sort of just blocked it up a bit in back there, blocked up the D, just said push them out. So there was 6 minutes to go. We got a yellow card, which is a sin bin, so we lost our centre half back. She was gone for Mountain. Never forgive her. And then 1 minute to go, we were 1 point up. We had a free out in the half back line. All we had to do was kick it out. Just 1 minute left. Just kick it anywhere. Everyone was screaming, telling the girl who was about to take it, put it down. Ref said we took too long, and he overturned the ball and gave them a free in, which I've never heard of. I thought normally if that was the case, it would be a hot ball, because we took too long. That was all. But anyway, he gave them a free in, put it over the bar and levelled the game in the last minute.
Oh, nightmare.
So that was it. And then it went to penalty freeze is what they called it. I'd never ever experienced it before.
I've never heard of that even, yeah.
Yeah. And what it is you nominate 5 players from each of the teams to step up to take these penalties. Penalty freeze, just so people know, it's like 35 yards out at the edge of the D. And yeah, it's just 5 players take them. It was just, we couldn't even get 5 girls to take them. We had 5 of no one wanted to step up.
And are you just in terms of the position of the matching? Is it the top of the D and that's where you kick them from, or can you go anywhere around the D?
No, can't move. And he put down flags as well. So it was even more. It was really tough. You had to go in between if you went by the flags, then it was disqualified.
Jeez, this sounds like under 12 community games.
It was really, really awful. I can't describe it. It was just so bad. You could hear some of the Navan O'Mahony's girls saying too that they didn't want to do this.
Yeah.
And I just wish, the only regret I have walking off that pitch that day was, why did we not just say, no, we don't want to do this. This isn't how a game should end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you take one?
I took one, yeah, and I missed.
Oh, Ashley. After
I had a cramp. I said, girls, I shouldn't be taking this. I shouldn't be taking
Fair
this.
enough.
Like, asking a few other ones would they do it. They didn't want to do it, and I missed.
Ah, Jesus. And
it wasn't the one to knock us out, but still.
I was going to ask, yeah. Well, it's probably better when there's a collective, isn't it? Like, you're not sitting in the dressing room afterwards going, that was all on me, that it was like, well, it's a bit of shared.
I know, but it honestly was, I wanted all week. I said to myself, I can walk off that pitch and just say to myself that we did everything. The best team won on the day. All I wanted to be able to say was the best team won, but we didn't have that. So I've nothing.
A couple of things on the penalty freeze. Is that in both the men's and women's game? I haven't heard of it before.
No, it used to be in. So I'm looking it up here because I wasn't sure myself, to be honest. And it used to be in, but they did away with it. And basically, it's up to the committees of the counties to decide on what they would like to do.
Right.
So if it has to be winner on the day, then it's up to the committees to decide. Now, I have seen just online and that this year, a lot of the men's games that have went to extra time and it was still a draw have went to penalties, just regular penalties.
That's what they do.
Yeah, I would rather that. You rarely practice frees unless you're a free taker, to be honest. You're not really practicing them. So, yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, out you went and...
Yeah, we were gone.
Tough.
That's us for another year. But
tough going.
Yeah, it is tough to take because you put so much into it, and it's from you're preparing from November, December the year before, to be honest. And I just think they shouldn't end the game that way. It should definitely go to a replay or even more extra time. But I just don't think penalty freeze is the way.
And the other mad wrinkle of this one is that I was watching a penalty shootout about 6 months ago. It was the Westmeath under 21s, I think it was, the under 20s, whatever it was at that time, and there was the new penalty format that was brought in at that stage, which was that 5 players would be nominated, that each take a penalty, and then after that that 5, you wouldn't move beyond the group of that 5, but the order of them could change. So they could decide the guy taking number 3 could start in at number 2, and they could mix it up whatever way they want. But bizarrely with this one, the 5 that would take the 5 penalty frees, if it went after that, if it went to penalties, they'd be discounted.
Yeah, so we didn't know, like, if this 5 that took them is obviously maybe your best 5 because they're the 5 that stood up first. So what if it does go to sudden death or whatever it is? We can't put those can't put those 5 to take another one. So you were sort of thinking those things too. Do we keep some of our better players for the next round? Do we take them now? It was just so unknown. And like, you did have a few girls saying, oh, I'll step up for the next one. I just can't do this one. There are a lot of young girls on the team and they just couldn't. We had a good crowd as well. They just were like, no, I can't step up. But yeah, it wasn't great now. But yeah, it was bizarre that the same 5 can't go again.
Yeah, it definitely feels like one of those things that we look back on hopefully very soon and say that was totally out of date and out of touch and let's do something else. And Brian Dillon's been in touch, said that the penalty free thing, he's on YouTube here, the penalty free thing is an absolute joke and wondering whose bright idea it was, and I think that's the general sentiment. Alright, and if you have any words of commiseration for Aisling over the course of the morning, keep them coming into us. It's myself and Aisling with you between now and 10 this morning. We've loads coming up at the show. We're going to talk a little bit about Celtic in just a few moments time, and obviously a big win for them in Europe last night and a few other bits and bobs as well we want to touch on. We'll do that in a couple of moments. We're also going to preview our Patrice Evra interview, which is coming up much later in the show this morning. Had a 25-minute conversation with the Manchester United legend yesterday, and it's a pretty interesting watch. Be coming your way a little bit later. Alan Quinlan will join us as well, just at 8:05. That's obviously previewing, looking ahead to Ireland-Japan tomorrow, and some interesting stuff from Ronan O'Gara in the Irish Examiner this morning, so we'll put that to him as well. The sports page will let you know some interesting stories there too. We'll let you know what's happening across the newspapers this morning. And then after that, there's a brand new launch of the Republic of Ireland jersey. And yeah, it's a bit of a departure in terms of colour. It's the away jersey. And we're going to be joined by Umbro's Jonathan Courtney a little bit later on to pick through all of that. And sort of, he's the man behind designing these things. And so we'll have a look at the kit. And I think it's out at 9 o'clock. And we'll talk to him just after that and show you what the jersey looks like as well. We have a live crappy quiz coming your way. It's Phil against Will against Ronan is our lineup this morning, and I'm hosting it, so we'll see. This really could go anywhere. Hopefully my hosting skills are every bit as good as the way I compete. Barry Keoghan, the actor, has been in conversation with our own Joe Conroy, an interesting chat as well, at 20 to 10 this morning, and after that John Kavanagh, an interesting weekend of MMA. So that's what's coming up between now and 10 this morning. OTB AM brought to you by Gillette. Good mornings start with Gillette. Put your best face forward with their new and improved razors, and we're also supporting Movember around here, and we'll give you more details on that and how to get involved as well. I should remind you that we had Sean O'Hara on yesterday's show. It was a really I think it was a chat that impacted a lot of people, speaking to people about it afterwards. He's doing 30 marathons in 30 days. He's running mainly around the Phoenix Park. You can join in. You can get involved with donating Movember.ie, and you can check out Sean O'Hara 2 on Instagram as well if you want to check out his progress. It's really a brilliant challenge that he's undertaking, and he's into day 5 now today, so you can head along there and check out his latest progress. We mentioned Celtic, a big win last night, Aisling, and they're... an away win in Europe in itself is a thing.
It's brilliant, yeah. They don't make it easy. You really don't make it easy. No, I was training myself last night, so I missed first 20 minutes, ran in the door, put it on. I think at that point it was 2-1. But yeah, in the end it was 3-2, and it shouldn't have been really 3-2. But no, great to get the win away, as I said. And things are looking up, it's really positive at the minute. I think Ange Postecoglou, the Celtic manager, the signings he's made have been brilliant this year. We're looking at Keoghan up front. He is just magic to watch, really exciting. So I love watching him now. And alongside him, we have Jota as well. That is something else. And the biggest thing about it is they're playing off each other so well. Yeah, that their movement up front, is brilliant. So yeah, it's really positive and really great to get the win. So they're in a good position now that they're guaranteed European football. Where or what yet, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, and they have away to Leverkusen, I think, with the next game, where it looks like at least a point would sort of keep them alive in that competition. So and look at in itself a task. But yeah, just in terms of the game last night, Keoghan gets the opener, a cracker of a second from Jota, a really neat interplay then between McGregor and Keoghan and Abada, who took it away for the third. And Keoghan himself is lashing them in left, right and centre, and even that lovely cutback and the composure for the opener. This guy could be an absolute superstar for years to come. Yeah,
his movement is just insane. And when I first started following Celtic, it was because of Larson. And I'm not saying he's Larson, but he definitely has movement or similarities like him. And it's just so brilliant to see, in a Celtic jersey, someone like that. And he definitely has that about him. And he just seems like such a lovely lad as well. I don't know if you've seen, was the last week's game, he was coming off the pitch and they were just giving him a bit of a rest, and he was there, like there was rubbish along the sideline from maybe the fans or whatever. It had blown down from the stand, and he was just picking up all the rubbish as he went to go into the dugout. It just seems like a lovely lad, and yeah, just a super player. I just think overall the signings is probably what the biggest thing. Even the likes of Joe Hart, the goalkeeper, he's been a massive signing. It was something that we were crying out for, and even for him in his career, I think it's sort of been the resurgence of his career in a way, and he's playing great stuff. And yeah, I think it's just working well. Even David Turnbull as well in the middle, he sort of had a few off games there, but last night he really stepped up. Ralston as well. A lot of people aren't sure about Ralston in the back line. They sort of say he's a bit clumsy, but he signed a new deal there until 2025 there. I think it was yesterday, day before. So he's going to be there to stay. But I think he's been there when we've needed him most, and I would back him. I really would. And, people are saying he was sort of just a fill-in, but I don't really believe that. I think he's really made a staple for himself. And, yeah, things are looking good in the Celtic top at the minute. Part of the,
downside, the flip side to the Keoghan being really good and scoring all around him is that sort of Tierney, Van Dijk, Edouard thing where inevitably when they get good enough, Aisling, over a period of time, the clubs south of the border are going to be nibbling away, aren't they?
Yeah, well, this is it. And hopefully that's not the case. Will you even have Jota at the minute. He's only on loan.
Yeah.
So there's an option to buy him there for 6.5 million. So hopefully that is done ASAP, because it definitely needs to be. But this is it, you know, with the Scottish League, that's always the fear. And yeah, I suppose at any moment that can happen. But a lot of players that play for Celtic really, really enjoy it. You know, they enjoy the fans, they enjoy Celtic Park, and but yeah, sometimes the money talks, and that's where they go.
Ange is the man, is that what we're saying? Is that I know when we were chatting about it before, it was only a few weeks in, and now obviously we've a bit more of a bank of experience of the guy, as you say, about his shrewd signings. Is that we're all in now, are we?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm behind Ange Postecoglou all the way. I think even just his style of play, like, you know, it's sort of like one touch. It's fast, it's quick, and it works well, especially because of the new signings he's brought in up front that are fast and nippy, and what works for them. And even just seeing as well, like, you know, some of the lads coming off the bench to have that. Even Mikey Johnson last night, you know, the likes of him coming back from injury. He hasn't had the best spell over the last while, so great to see him in there as well. And yeah, it's positive. It's looking well, and I think Ange has done a great job. He's came in at a time that was really, really difficult for him, for what he was left with. You know, he was left with a mess, really. And you know what he's done so far has been great. And hopefully now, you know, they're sitting second in the table as well. So you know, plenty of time to get up there to the number one spot. And yeah, hopefully it's a good year.
Yeah, we'll see how to get on against Leverkusen as well upcoming. We do want to let our viewers know as well that we've an interview coming up a little bit later this morning with the former Manchester United and France defender Patrice Evra. It's a fairly wide-ranging chat. It's about the launch of his new book, I Love This Game, my autobiography, has been written with Andy Mitten, and it's a really good read. Now, to give you a flavour of what that's all about, take a watch. Luis Suarez has been back in the headlines obviously during the week. He's been back at Liverpool this week, and everybody's chatting about him again, and you go into big detail in the book about all that affair, the racist abuse obviously at that time, the hearing, the Liverpool reaction, the thing that I couldn't believe after all of that, and it really you know, look, it was an interesting piece where you had said a couple of years later you actually voted for him for PFA Player of the Year.
Yeah, because I don't have any hate. I don't have any hate in my heart. And, you know, I judge the players, not the person. Never be the best person in the world. But like I said, I don't call Luis Suarez a racist because I don't know him close enough to call him that way. But that day, yeah, he used to racist word. He tried to deny he's been banned. And I was in shock when the Liverpool team, you know, they came out with the shirt and supporting because the ban was already done. So I was so delighted and surprised when Jamie Carragher in live TV, and he apologized for what he did like 9 years ago, like wearing that shirt. And I received like some email from the owner of Liverpool saying, we're really sorry and whatever, you're more than welcome to come in Anfield and stuff like that. So, you know, I turned the page. I play against Luis Suarez in the final of Champions League when I was at Juventus, and I was talking with Neymar, and he came and I shake his hand. So, like I say, I'm someone I forgive.
There was a very funny story where yourself and your brother bumped into him and his family in Selfridges. Yeah,
but that's funny and not funny, because I think that there I could do something like really bad, wrong, the dark side. Coming again, yes, we saw him at Selfridges. He was on his own first. My brother said, oh, Luis is over there. And as I start walking toward him, and I see his little girl and his wife. So I was like, okay, don't do something stupid. You know, the family is there. But 100% if his family wasn't there that day, something bad will happen.
Yeah, that's Patrice Evra. We were chatting to him yesterday. It's a 25-minute piece. It's coming your way a bit later on, and it's fairly wide-ranging. The book is a really good pick-through, I have to say. If you're a Manchester United fan particularly, it's going to interest you deeply with all the detail he goes into about his time there, and it coincided with, and it was no coincidence really, with an amazing run of form and amazing run of trophies as well that they managed to bag. And so we get into that. There's the opening pages of the book, and it's the first thing we get into in the chat, are really just jaw-dropping in terms of it's a tough read when he talks about his his desire to become a footballer led him to have to move away from home because the school, which had a bit more of a football ethos, was a bit farther away from where he lived in Les Ulis than was feasible to get in and out of. And so he ended up having to stay over with a head teacher and suffers abuse at the hands of that head teacher over a period of time. And it's a legal case that, as he hinted at yesterday, could well raise its head again. But yeah, really tough read at times, but a really good read. As he said himself, you'll cry at times and you'll laugh at times, Aisling. And we also get into it a bit yesterday about he does go into some detail around the 2009 Stade de France game, and otherwise known as the handball match.
I was going to ask, does he mention that? That's all I want to know.
It comes up in the book, and like in the book mainly it's about I couldn't believe the French public's reaction to Thierry Henry. They should have made a statue for this guy rather than pillory him. So that was kind of the main tone of the book, but obviously we were kind of interested in talking to him a little bit more about sort of getting into the detail of it. We were getting a bit rushed, I'm not going to lie. We were getting a bit rushed by the publicist when we were getting knee deep into the juicy stuff about the game, but I was kind of interested and asked him, and he did speak about where he was on the pitch at that moment when the goal went in. He said he wasn't aware, it wasn't clear to him at that stage that it was a handball, and naturally enough, like, Henry didn't come running back up the pitch going, hey, I handballed it and it's a goal, because like when you look back at the coverage of it, there's not joyous celebrations. It's, if you remember, it was quite a determined, like, oh, that's great, we got the goal, that's a bit of a release, but it wasn't that sort of real joyous thing that you should expect to get at that stage. He said it was only when he got back into the dressing room afterwards that he saw the replay and it became clear that it was a handball, and he said that everybody was kind of sat around. It seemed like it was a bit sort of a funereal, that people were kind of sat around.
Do they care, do you think? Like, do you care you win that way? He
said couldn't care less. He said, like, if it happened to Ireland, what would you do? And that is that is a very, very reasonable question. And I think we all know the answer, right? It's not a...
I know we can laugh now and whatever. At the time, if there was no laughing for probably years later. But if you're in that situation, you're a player in that situation, a team, you just want to win. Yeah. I'm sorry, but if that was me, I don't care what way that ball goes in the net. Yeah. Once it goes in and we get the win, and that's terrible, I know, but that's sport, isn't it?
Yeah, and look, it was one of the things that led to all the technology being introduced and rushed in. It couldn't happen today, he says, sort of assuming that it shouldn't happen today, at least anyway. I was actually at that game that night, and it was just, the whole thing was just sort of an outer body experience with the madness of it. And I remember being in the mix zone afterwards. I remember Thierry Henry coming out and fronting up to the media, to be absolutely fair to him. I remember the scrum that gathered around him. I remember being somewhere towards the back and trying to lean the microphone in to make sure that I could try and get whatever it was he was saying. I remember the depth of passion from the Irish players when they came out and spoke, and they were all queuing up to sort of talk about what a travesty it was. And I remember going down to the press conference, making my way around the Stade de France stairwell, and I remember hearing footsteps coming up the stairwell towards me as I was on the way down. And then I realised it was Arsène Wenger, and I thought, oh, this is amazing. My moment has come. I was on my own. He was on his own. I had my microphone at the ready because I was going down to the mix zone, and I thought, I'm going to get the scoop of Wenger, who's his club manager and like such a big voice in French football. I've hit the mother load. And I said, hey, Arsène, from Irish Radio, any chance to grab a few words about the game? I think he muttered something at me or something or other. It was he clearly was not as bought into the idea that this was going to be the moment that made my career, Aisling, as I was.
No, when you're thinking, this is it. I know that feeling. I know it, Adrian. And you think, yes, I have it now. This
Serendipity
is going to be my
has
moment.
led us both at this point in the moment. Everything in our lives, me and you, Arsène, has been leading up to this moment. Let's do it.
And he couldn't care less.
barely acknowledged I was there, and he was right in hindsight. But I mean, it didn't help my mood at the time.
No. And what did Thierry Henry say? Can you remember in that moment straight after?
Do you know, I can't remember exactly, but it was definitely an acceptance about what had happened. I'd say to be fair, and there might not be a huge amount of reason to be fair to the guy. He was probably digesting the whole thing himself. Like, I think if you're him, more than you were saying earlier on, if it was an Irish player, you don't really want to come out and be you don't want to be leading out with, oh yeah, listen, it was wrong and let's offer them a replay. You know what I mean?
No.
I don't think that would have gone down well in his own dressing room. So I'm fairly certain that wasn't the tone. I know he didn't either come out and spend like half an hour talking to the media, but he did come out and he did front up, and you do have to respect that. But yeah, I think it was pretty much like, listen, you got to do what you got to do to win a match. But it was desperately unlucky, let's call it that, from an Irish point of view. Travesty, obviously, in so many other ways. But I did say to him as well that we were cheering on France's downfall, which he was captain for. And there's brilliant, Evra, there's brilliant detail about that World Cup in 2010 in his book. Brilliant detail about it and what went on and the fallout from it and all that kind of thing. So, as I said, I do recommend genuinely that, particularly if you're a United fan, that you go ahead and pick up that book. One other thing before we move on that we wanted to touch on, Aisling, is the Oisin Mullen story. And he it looks like he's off to the FL. The 42 had the exclusive yesterday and supported across a lot of the back pages today. And it can't be underestimated. There's some stuff in the Irish Daily Mail this morning from Michael Clifford is writing the piece inside, and there's some quotes from Johnny Casey just about the blow that it is to Mayo. Devastating, I think, was sort of one word that he'd used, and I think everybody accepts that. He said Oisin was our new Lee Keoghan. This is a massive blow, and he goes into more detail about it inside, but it does feel, from a Mayo point of view, and I know that James Horn and I know the players, they'll write it off very quickly and they'll come to terms with it and they'll move on and convince themselves, and maybe they're right to do that. Maybe they're right that it's also true that they could still be competitive, but it does feel from the outside looking in as if it really is a massive blow.
It's a massive blow. It really is. You know, he was the young player of the year. You know, he was their next big thing. And even last year when we seen that he got injured, that's what I was saying to you before we come on. Like, he got injured last year, and it was such a massive deal to not have him in your back line. You know, just his pace that he breaks at, coming out of that back line, and he goes straight through the middle. You know, he creates a lot of their scores, and yeah, he's a big lad too. He's well able to get stuck in and take the hits, and you know, he's physical, and yeah, it's a massive blow. But I suppose that's why you're seeing him going off to the AFL. But you know, great for him, great opportunity. But I think for the game, even as a whole, to see someone like him walking away, it's tough to take. And you know, poor Mayo, my God, they don't. They don't have any luck at the moment. You know, it's a tough one to take, because exactly, he was probably their next Lee Keoghan. You know, he was their next big star to come out of there. And yeah, look, the James Horn's just going to be looking ahead, as you said. He'll just sweep it under the carpet. It's someone that's not there, they're not there. They, you know, get over it and move on. That's the way he'll look at it. But I think for the Mayo fans, it's definitely a massive deal, and they would much prefer him to be in the setup and to be playing for Mayo.
Yeah, 100%. And like, you're absolutely right, from even from a somewhat neutral point of view, looking at it, it's not great for the game. And I know there's a young fella from Westmeath going out there as well. And it's the other thing is, look at it, Casey says it himself in the piece that, like, it's a good possibility he's back in a year or two and back into the fold, and we've seen that happen before as well. But in the short term, it's definitely ain't going to help Mayo for the year ahead. Right, it is 3 minutes past 8. Loads of comments coming into us across the platforms this morning. Do keep them coming in, because we'd love to hear from you. Poor Mayo, coming from a Meath fan, lol, says Rommel. And then Shifty Lad, good morning to you, Shifty Lad, saying that he saw the interview last night and seems like a very nice and brave person. That's very much how he comes off in the book as well. Right, 3 minutes past 8. Lots coming up in the show today. Should mention that not knowing where to start with improving your health can be overwhelming. So we acknowledge that, and OTB have teamed up with Healthy Ireland to bring you the Let's Get Set series. It's a how-to series, and it's available on all of our social channels, including TikTok this morning. You can help us with tips to lead a healthier lifestyle and stay on top of your well-being. So you can check out our social channels for much more information on that, and easy to follow advice as well. And you can also check out Healthy Ireland, if you Google Healthy Ireland as well, and that'll bring you all the latest details on that. We're going to hear from Nora Stapleton about that, about getting active during this quick ad break, and after that, Alan Quinlan on the rugby.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio, Ireland's first and only sports radio station.
Liverpool fans won't want to miss our latest Cadbury FC Roadshow. We're going behind the scenes at Anfield with legendary striker Robbie Fowler.
We'll also be joined by Liverpool captain and Irish international Niamh Fahey and former Liverpool midfielder and physio Richie Partridge.
It's all with thanks to Cadbury FC and their club partnerships, granting you behind the scenes access at the Premier League's biggest clubs.
Coming soon to OTB Sports social channels.
Us adults should be trying or aiming to achieve 30 minutes of activity 5 times a week. Some people say we should make exercise a habit, but actually you've got to aim for routines instead. Habits are things we do subconsciously. Routines take planning, effort, conscious decision making. That's why being active can be tricky, but the key is to find out what motivates you. So how can we develop these routines? Everything from goal setting to planning, to sharing the activity with people and coming up with some behaviour cues. Start looking at where you can include exercise routines into your week. Active travel, for example. Can you walk, cycle the kids to school or creche, or yourself to work? What days of the week can you add in a lunchtime walk, or even an exercise class on YouTube? And when you drop the kids to their sport, can you be active then at the venue, or do you spend your time scrolling through your phone? Healthier, small steps have a positive impact on well-being.
He's a lion, he's a Grand Slam winner, he's Ireland's leading try scorer, and now you can hear him first, exclusively on the OTB Sports app.
One of my abiding memories is having my cut opened up again as I got hit by the trophy in coppers on the dance floor.
Join Brian O'Driscoll for the best insight and analysis this rugby season.
We haven't had the usual kind of grenades from Gats, that's gone, so we're creating them ourselves.
Get the jump on everyone else. Download the OTB Sports app and turn on notifications now.
OTB AM.
With Gillette, proud supporters of Movember. Gentlemen, let's move.
All right, you're welcome back. We've loads still to come. We're going to be hearing from Patrice Evra a bit later in the show. We're going to be revealing the new Republic of Ireland away jersey. That'll be coming your way just after 9 o'clock this morning, and we've loads of other bits and bobs as well. But time to talk rugby. Alan Quinlan, good morning to you.
Morning, Adrian. How are you?
Flying, thanks. Alan Quinlan, host of the Red 78 podcast. All your Munster fix. Head along to the Rugby channel now and you can pick up the latest from that. Team news obviously in, Quinny, since you were last on, and the standout things: 12 Leinster players in the 15, Sexton 100 caps, Porter loose head, Kelleher hooker, Sheehan to get his shot off the bench, Lowe is back, Murray benched, and no Zebo. Where do you want to jump in?
Well, if you're a Munster fan, you're disappointed, or an Ulster or Connacht one, aren't you? But look, I think it's a very, very strong side. I think very powerful side. A lot of the players undercooked. That would be my concern. Some of the internationals, the ones that went back to their provinces, obviously their season was a little bit slower than others, and some of them haven't that many games, but. You mentioned the front row there, and I was just thinking about this, Adrian. Porter, Loosehead, and Kelleher and Furlong. That's potentially a world-class front row. I think Ronan Kelleher has come on so much, and obviously his experience with the Lions and training with them over the summer will benefit him. The way he started the season has been fantastic. He's such a powerhouse, athletic, and really his game is, I think, has improved so much. One area is the line out, and you get tested more at the top level with that. But having Porter and Furlong on the field at the same time is obviously something that the Irish selectors and thought about, and the Irish management have thought about, and it can only add benefit to Ireland. I think, Keelan Healy obviously has been fantastic over the years, and he's had such a wonderful career. But I think having Porter and Furlong on together, they're two really good footballers. They get the ball in their hands a lot. So that front row is a serious outfit.
You have him, Quinny. Sorry, you have Kelleher in. We were talking to Fiona Hayes about it yesterday, and she was kind of saying it was more of a horses for courses thing, maybe between himself and Herring. But you have Kelleher in, clear number one.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think Herring has been very good for Ireland. I think he's a very dynamic player, and he does a lot around the field as well, and he's in the loose and stuff like that. But I think Kelleher is the full package. If the difference between the two of them is the line-out throwing, Herring's throwing is really, really brilliant. It's top top notch. There's still a little question mark there over Ron Kelleher with the throwing when you come up against the big sides, and the accuracy, and even a couple against Japan were inaccurate. I'm sure he's worked on that, and having Paul been involved with the team will benefit him, and just get the timing of throws and stuff like that. But I think he is number one. He has to be number one. He's the future now, and I think he's a fantastic player.
When you look at the profile of the 23, and particularly the likes of O'Mahony, Murray, Earls, Healy on the bench, like, I was interested in the comment you made earlier on about the undercooked nature of the players. Does that explain the inclusion of some of those, Quinny? Because there's nothing new we're going to learn about those players, particularly off the bench.
No, and I think there is a lot of experience with Peter O'Mahony, Conor Murray, Keith Earls. They bring, an incredible amount of caps and experience with them. I think he's trying to be fair to them. They are a little bit undercooked as regards matches. I think they're still important part of this squad. And I think they'll. That's probably one of the reasons we haven't seen. Conor Murray has he 1 or 2 games played? Keith Earls has only a couple of games played as well. I know a lot of the other players are in similar situations, but there was probably a lot of people wanted to see a lot more change. But I think there's been a lot of new players come into Andy Farrell's squad in the last 18 months, and he's capped a lot of players as well. So you can't have wholesale changes, and I think it's a very strong side. And as you say, it's probably because they're undercooked a little bit, but we haven't seen enough of those players yet this season. But I think they will be important. And I think the lack of kind of younger chip players and abandonment as regards selection is down to New Zealand next week. Japan is going to be a very difficult game for them, but they've got to get some sort of continuity. Normally this time of year they'd have European games played. They've had a lot more league games played as well. So I think this team needs a game, or it's going to be it's going to be difficult against Japan. There's no doubt about it. And they're a very dangerous side. But I think this team needs a game together, and the team which he's going to pick next week, which there might be some changes on it, but the vast majority of these 23 players will be going out against New Zealand next week.
And Quinny, for you, did you hope that it might have been a bit more adventurous? I think fans sort of hoped against Japan you might see the likes of maybe, Craig Casey or Robert Balacloon, these type of lads to get in and get their start now, because I don't think we will see that then against the All Blacks.
Yeah, we won't see it actually against the All Blacks, but I think there is an opportunity to give to do that against Argentina in the last game. I think it'd be very foolish to mix and match and essentially, okay, people always argue this at the World Cup that we kind of pick teams to win matches rather than, with one eye in the World Cup. It's okay for England to do that and for New Zealand to do that, South Africa, because they have such a big pool of players. And maybe, that criticism keeps coming around every 4 years. But I think in the last 12 to 18 months, as I said, Andy Farrell has brought in a lot of young players and capped a lot of young players in this squad. The age profile at the moment is 29. That's the average age. And it's probably the bench that brings that up a lot, and Johnny Sexton in the side. But look, I think Balacloon is someone who would really, really excite me. And if you were going to do it, maybe it's in those wider channels. I'd love to see Jordan Larmour get back a bit of zip in his game and have a real impact at international level as well. I think he has incredible X factor. Craig Casey has shown that he's matured and developed a lot. But I think probably what happened at the end of the Six Nations was Gibson Park probably put his hand up to, be the number one scrum half. I know Conor Murray will have something to say about that. He went to the Lions tour, but I think it's going to happen against Argentina, and it would be foolish to change for the sake of it in this game, because I think it's going to be very, very difficult. And I know you'd be foolish to look ahead too much next week, I think it's just New Zealand, because Japan will cause them a lot of problems, and they're a side that could potentially beat Ireland. They're a very dangerous side. Yeah. They showed that again in the last couple of weeks. So I don't think you make changes just for the sake of it. I hope to see some of the younger players, the squad, get opportunities like Baloucoune, like James Lowe. Dan Sheehan is on the bench. Nick Timoney, maybe, you know, players like that, Gavin Coombs. I hope we see them against Argentina.
You talk about the options around the back three, particularly Quinny. James Lowe spoke very well yesterday about learning from his Six Nations experience, and well documented, obviously, the troubles that he had at that time, and ultimately getting dropped then for the England game. Is it likely or possible, like he's talking about it very positively in terms of great experience to go through, learnt my lesson, I've worked really hard, I'm going to come back and that's all going to be fixed. Is that likely or possible?
It's difficult when you're not when I suppose you can learn as a defender and learn not to, you know, to stay connected what's happening on the inside. And I've thought about this. Some people I played with over the years and watched, obviously, they do it naturally, where they kind of, even if they don't have a huge amount of pace, that they have this ability to stay in an inside shoulder and push players out and not come up and in where a pass goes over their head, or they just get caught with the numbers. I think James Lowe's natural instinct is to come up and in. And that's what happened a few times in those matches where he got caught out, particularly the Welsh game. And you know, it's probably it is the reason why he's dropped his defence, because, you know, we saw James Lowe for a couple of years who was on the front foot with Leinster, and it was so dominant and energetic and coming in off his wing and making lots of carries. His kicking game is good. So there's undoubted talent there. And I think can it be fixed? Yes, it can. But I think he has to understand, and I hope he understands what's happened and what he needs to do. Because the point I'm making, it comes natural to some people where they can defend in a way that they don't panic and they'll come up. And James has probably shown a little bit of panic because he wants to be physical and he wants to smash people as well. But defence is about being intelligent. So sometimes you're better off actually soaking a tackle. When I mean soaking is making the tackle back across your game line a bit, rather than taking the 60-40 of making a big smash and knocking them back on the other side, particularly when in the wider channel. So it's a difficult place to defend. And, you know, he can offer a lot to this team if he gets that right, and I hope he does. And, you know, he was pretty honest in his assessment, and I'm sure they've worked hard on that, and he's worked hard as an individual. So the proof will be in the pudding, you know, that he makes good decisions defensively, particularly tomorrow. And he'll be tested a lot because, you know, Japan have so much pace and accuracy in their game that they move the ball a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the options that are there, he might not get a huge amount more chances as well.
It's an area, Adrian, that you could realistically say and factually say that, you know, there's been a lot of chopping and changing with the wings. I think Hugo Keenan has probably given a little bit of stability at full back now that, you know, you kind of think he's the first choice full back there, and he's proved himself. There's been a lot of, you know, some players have been injured. Keith Dergs has been there a long time and he's missed matches through injury and he's been in and out. And but, you know, we two wingers that have just nailed down those spots in the last number of years and are part of the future, the growth towards the World Cup. Not really. And that's a worry. So these positions are up for grabs, and it's now that players need to start putting their hands up there. And that's why I mentioned Baloucoune and Ashton did as well. You know, he's someone that, you know, Keith Earls is still a top quality player, and I think he's a battler, and he's great pace to his game, and he's been brilliant for Ireland. He's not going to be there forever, and I think the door is kind of slightly ajar for someone to grab that spot there on the right wing. And, you know, Larmour's another player I'd love to see back. As I said, Stockdale, wonderful attacking player, but defensive issues as well over the years. So you need a bit of continuity there. And I think now in the next 6 months, we need to start finding players who are going to nail that down and take hold of those jerseys, the 11 and 14 jerseys, and give real options of counter-attack and ability in wider channels as regards to them being wingers, you know.
Yeah. I was down at the Aviva supporting Connacht a couple of weeks ago, Quinny, and got a good look at Ballycoon up close, and Mac Hansen as well. So look, at good options. Come here, we better talk about Sexton 100, because there's not many players in an Irish shirt that have reached this milestone. In fact, only Hayes, Healy, O'Connell, Best, Raj and Brian O'Driscoll have more caps than him. It is, we tended over the last couple of years to talk a lot about his age, at times where there's been some shortcomings, but we should talk about what a powerhouse this guy has been in an Irish shirt for 12 years now.
Yeah, he's been brilliant, and I was in the Irish squad when he kind of came in first and started training with Ireland. He was quiet, shy, and people weren't really sure, even from the Leinster point of view, how good he was and what kind of an impact. Was he good enough at this level? And, you know, obviously he came on for Contepomi in that semi-final in 2009 and played really well, and then delivered in the final, and the whole narrative changed around Johnny Sexton, and he started to have an impact with Ireland then, and there was a battle between himself and Rog for that number 10 jersey, and they ended up playing together a couple of times with Sexton and coming off the bench and being in the centre, or vice versa. So I think a little bit unsure at the start what to make of him when he came into the squad, because he was quiet and a little standoffish. But
and what was that? How did that
probably come out?
It did. How did that manifest itself on the training pitch? Like, that quietness, was that? I
think, you know, there would have been a lot of experienced players there, and he was a young player coming in, and you know, you're not really sure. You know, so I often looked at players, whether it be provincially or with nationally over the years, and not really sure. Some guys, you look at them and you think, geez, they're going to be an international, they're a quality player. Obviously from a, you know, kicking point of view and place kicking and kicking the touch and all that stuff, he was very good at all that stuff, but you just weren't sure, was he a real out and out attacking player and had the ability? And out half is a really tough position, and look at, you know, the players who've come through since that time, and they don't come around top quality out halves too often, and they're hard positions to fill. But I think he just grew and grew over the years and became more confident, and obviously the success with Leinster kind of kicked on and gave him the confidence with Ireland, and he's been involved in so many big games over the years and so integral to that success. And, you know, going to Paris and coming back, and then probably being under, you know, coached by Joe Schmidt, who really pushed on his game as well. So the achievement is incredible, and it's difficult at times, because when you have a 36-year-old player, which he is now, who's your out half, and he's had so much success, people are going to try and, you know, look for weaknesses and poor games, and then they put it straight down to the age. So he's going to have to. That's what happens when you continue playing on at this age. One bad game, he's too old, and that's something that's going to keep going for him. But look, what he's achieved in the game is sensational. You know, he's such a determined player. He probably drives himself cuckoo at times with that determination and drive, and I mean that in a respectful way. That, you know, I can relate a tiny little bit to that pressure you put on yourself, and he puts immense pressure on himself. It can be very good at times, but sometimes he looks stressed, he looks angry, he looks, you know, and we've all seen that. We've seen the temperament, and look, it's what drives him on, has made him great too, you know. So I really hope that, you know, I'd like to see it be a great ending for Johnny Sexton, whether it be this next year or if he goes to the World Cup. You know, it's everybody will have an opinion on should he, but we haven't seen players come and take the jersey off him, and he's still very much important part of it. But the achievement is incredible.
And Quinny, just as you spoke about there, like over the last while, people have criticised, and that seems when we talk about Johnny Sexton, that's what we talk about, rather than his unbelievable athleticism, what an athlete he is, and obviously he's at 100 caps now. This is amazing. You know, we're obsessed with age. Is that a bit of a problem maybe in the game, in sports, I suppose, as a whole?
Yeah, but it's a natural thing, Ashley, because, you know, none of us, unfortunately, when you get to that age where maybe you have a bad game or a couple of bad games, or sometimes you think you can go on forever. I probably could have went on for another year at the end of my career, and it was one of my biggest fears that I would start kind of my performances start dipping and people start feeling sorry for you and stuff like that. It's always a danger in sport when you go past the kind of age that you're supposed to. The narrative is, in rugby that, you got to 33, 34, 35, maybe if you're lucky. And some exceptions, of course, that players go on longer. It's down to physical and mental desire and how you look after yourself. And it's a shame really at times, because the point I suppose you're making is it's sometimes a person's legacy can be kind of shredded a little bit. And you look at what Conor Murray and Johnny Sexton as a partnership did for a number of years. They did it on the British and Irish lines. They did it for Ireland. They brought unprecedented success. I know there'll always be the criticism of the World Cup, and it's difficult to deal with that. But 2018 in Twickenham, I did the commentary for that game, and they were in an incredible position to win a Grand Slam on Paddy's Day against our biggest rivals. Was really special. They won a number of championships, achieved so much in the game, and it's kind of sad at times but that's ruthless. The ruthlessness of professional sport, that you get to the point maybe that you can still offer a lot, but maybe it's in a different way, and it's up to coaches to make those decisions. And people have opinions. Social media is crazy now with opinions, and it can be really negative towards people in sport and like that in that situation. But they've got to deal with it, and that's, you either walk away or you deal with it, Ashton. You've got to take the good with the bad. And he still believes he can deliver. So let's hope he does. And if he's part of the group going on to the World Cup, it'd be a great story, Yeah.
It looks inevitable almost now. I did want to, it wouldn't be a Friday morning without asking you something about Ronan O'Gara's column in the Irish Examiner, so I want to ask you that before we get your final thoughts on the game. He was talking about his own 100th cap and how he'd come on as a sub against South Africa in 2010. One of the November internationals, had a bit of a positive impact on it and ended up losing the game ultimately in the end. But when he went to New Zealand and he sat down with a couple of the players, they were picking through with him when he won his 100th cap, and why he came off the bench, and who was the coach at that time, i.e. that it was disrespectful to put him on the bench for his 100th cap, and he goes into some detail in that. He talks about the lack of respect and decency, not in relation to himself, but it does feel like a pointed comment. And Declan Kidney obviously was the coach at that time. It wasn't something I have to say from the outside looking in that you would overly think about, but clearly as players it cuts deep. Your thoughts about that dynamic, Quinny, that like your 100 cap, you got to get in, and like we all know Rog is a bit, he's going to tell it like it is. But is he?
Do you want me to tell it like it is?
Is he right? Yeah, is he right to feel that way? Should he have started?
Probably, yeah. Look at on your 100 cap. I think my 200 cap from Munster, it's a little bit different in Thomond Park, was a home game to Ospreys, and Tony McGahan back then was making changes in the team, and he made the changes. And I think Pat Geraghty was our PRO at the time, and Pat came to me and said, "It's your 200 game at the weekend," and I didn't even know that. And he said, "I'm going to talk to the coach and tell him, because he's picked a team and you're on the bench this week." And there was a bit of rotation. We came back from Edinburgh after winning a game on the previous Friday night, and then fairness to Tony McGahan, he said, "Look, it's your 200 cap, you've got to start." He went to, I think it could have been James Collin or Niall Ronan or someone, and said, "Look, sorry lads, he has to start." So I ended up running out in the field. So it was really nice, because I didn't know about that, and I'm sure Rog feels that way too, but maybe he didn't say it at the time, or I don't know. It was.
Well, it's an awkward conversation to have at that level, particularly, isn't it? Like particularly when his starting point is, could you not have had the respect for me to put me in the team, sort of thing. Like, it's hard to, it's not. He wasn't arguing it from a I deserve to start point of view, and I'm sure he. Yeah. By the way, I'm sure he'd also make that case, but
Yeah, and it's different for me and Rog, because we're very close, and I have no sympathy whatsoever for him, because he's 124 caps for Ireland.
Yeah,
and I've 27. So I said this to him towards the end of his career: stop whinging and whining. Like, I wish I had 20 of his caps. Could he lend me 20 of them? So no, but look, I know where he's coming from, and in fairness, the relationship between himself and Declan was, I wouldn't say fraught, but they challenged each other a lot. They were both from Cork. They knew each other from a young age. And I wasn't really privy to that dynamic. I'd say I wouldn't say it was anything cynical, and I don't know, I can't remember the game and who did start at 10 before him and stuff like that, but he should have piped up at the time, Sexton. Maybe. But look, at the end of the day, if it is your 100th, you would like to be running out there at the start, and I didn't even know that happened, and I didn't see the article this morning, but I'm sure he'll be fine. He's achieved so much in the game anyway as well, so he'll be grand. He's doing a bit of whining about that now at this stage.
He'll get over it. Ireland's 10 that day was Jonathan Sexton.
Right. Okay.
So there you go.
Well, he should have got he should have said it to someone beforehand. So, but look, to be fair to Rog, and it's a very relevant point. My 200 for Munster are totally different. Your 100 cap for Ireland, he should have started that game for sure.
Fair enough. What's going to happen? Ireland, Japan.
It's tricky, isn't it? I think they've only, let me see, is it 4 games played since the World Cup?
That's all.
Yeah.
They played the Sunwolves in before those summer tests. It was a kind of a warm-up game, 32-17. The Lions game, I think, was 28-10, and the Lions started off in a very strong position there, but when you think of that and look at that result, it's an 18-point win for the British and Irish Lions against Japan. And you couldn't argue that, you couldn't say that, oh, this is a national team and they're together all the time, they're training, because they weren't, because of COVID and stuff. So they're very, very capable, the Japanese, of causing any side problems. And I think they've become stronger and physical. And I was looking back at some of the results last night, and there's some big scores. I played in 2005 in Japan. We won 2 test matches there. And, you kind of have the opinion back then that this is a bit easier. And they're very quick and fast. And if you give them enough ball, they can be dangerous. But we'll overpower them up front. And teams can't really do that to them as convincingly as they did before, because they're dynamic and they have a fair bit of power and strength there as well now. So very dangerous side. They showed it against Australia a couple of weeks ago. So if we think, or anyone thinks, that this is going to be a 20-30 point game, it's not. Winning this game by 7 or 8, 10 points is a good result. I think what I'd like to see from Ireland, Adrian, is them to be a bit more robust and powerful in defensively. They got a lot of line breaks, Japan, against us in that summer test, which was 39-31 eventually in the end. But there was a few sighs in the Aviva. There was no crowds for that game, but you could feel from the players that they were in a little bit of shock. So it'd be a good achievement to kind of stop those line breaks, because I think Japan are probably the best attacking side in the world when they're on the front foot. It's just, they play with pace and accuracy, and it's just electric at times. So I think to stop that would be an achievement and win the game. I don't want us to be boring. I think we need to attack ourselves, hopefully, and score some good tries. But it's a tricky game for Ireland. And because they're a little bit undercooked, I'd be nervous about getting this perfect performance. I don't think we will get that. I just think a win and be strong defensively.
Yeah. All right. We'll watch you with interest and catch up with you next week. Thanks, Quinny.
Cheers. Thanks, lads.
Thanks a lot. That's Alan Quinlan looking ahead to the weekend's game. Let's let you know now what's happening across the sports pages this morning, and including on otbsports.com, where you've got that main piece there. It was Kevin Moran, after his retirement from the Waterford Hurlers during the week, was in conversation with Nathan on the show last night, and talking about the overwhelming reaction that he's had since announcing his retirement. Eddie Howe has basically a done deal to Newcastle, it seems. They're about to appoint him. The dressing room was silent, is the words of Patrice Evra after the famous Thierry Henry handball, in an interview that's coming your way in just a few moments' time. That's otbsports.com for you this morning. Let's tell you what's happening on the back pages of the newspapers today. The Irish Daily Mail, vintage class, Farrell, Sexton has hunger and fight to carry on. It's almost dead certain now that he's off to the World Cup, obviously, at this point. Conte clings on. Antonio Conte had his first game, an animated game, it has to be said, and the sideline for Tottenham last night as they hung on against Vitesse 3-2 there, and Kenny fully intends to remain as Ireland boss, it says there. It's rugby all the way on the Irish Times this morning, a picture of Jemison Gibson Park there, flinging the ball wide, and Farrell front load side in expectation of Japanese threat. Writes Jerry Thornley there, and also news that Alan Wynne-Jones, who it seems at the age of 74 is still playing rugby, but is set to miss the Six Nations with a shoulder injury, so it'll be interesting to see what happens for him from there on out. The Irish Daily Star this morning, Mayo suffer Mullen blow, that confirmation of Oisin Mullen off to the AFL. Kenny, I've got staying power and run in 20 seconds. Tab in the morning, but potentially there. That's how long it took Fergie to stop Cristiano joining City. It looked like he was off. Fergie picked up the phone. 20 seconds later, he was on his way to United. The Irish Independent this morning, Kenny's not fixated with contract talk. That I think the FA are to meet later this month, and I'm sure there'll be hopefully some confirmation and a full stop on that conversation one way or the other. Farrell urges Carberry to knock Johnny off his perch, and good shot of Antonio Conte there from the touchline last night. He's going to bring passion, that is for sure. Elsewhere, the Irish Examiner this morning saluting Sexton, Ronan O'Gara, and Ireland's next centurion and his successors. And as we discussed with Quinny, it's a piece worth picking through this morning for Ronan's own experience of that 100th cap and the fallout from that. Lots more inside there as well. Speaking of fallout, in the Telegraph this morning, this is a story that's actually run on the very front page of the main news section on the Daily Telegraph today. It's a picture of Michael Vaughan. Being branded a racist has hit me so hard, but I deny it completely, he says. This is a story that, I don't know, in terms of an Irish radar, is probably not front and centre, but this is a story that is worth following, and it's a story that isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And Michael Vaughan, you'll be aware, English icon, former England captain, Ashes winning captain, and he says that he's been named in Yorkshire's reports into allegations of racism, and he's a columnist for the Telegraph as well, and he talks about the piece here, and he addresses it, and he says that the night before that he was due to give evidence, I think it was last year, he says, out of the blue I was hit with the news that Azim Rafiq was alleging that in 2009, when I was still a player, I'd said to him and two other Asian players as we walked onto the field together for a Yorkshire match against Nottinghamshire that there were too many of you lot, we need to do something about it. He said, this hit me very hard. It was like being struck over the head with a brick. And the accusation is also printed by the Telegraph this morning from Azim Rafiq, and he says this comment was addressed to me, Adil Rashid, Ajmed Shahad and Rana Naveed. He said, we all heard it. These comments from Michael Vaughan, you lot is how we would be addressed by him and others because of our race. So you can tell the depth of feeling and passion around that story, and inquiries ongoing obviously, and the full expectation is that there'll be more fallout from that in terms of resignations around Yorkshire, and potentially more wide-ranging as well. Right, Kenny, not fixated on the new contract, says the Herald this morning, as well as pictures last night of Celtic's party with points on the Danube, as it's reported there. Michael Vaughan, I deny racism accusation, and he goes into details of that denial in his column in the Telegraph, but that's the London Times for you today. The Mirror, run in 20 seconds. I mean, it's a good one, so it gets repeated. That's fair enough. The Manchester Derby tomorrow, obviously, and that's more of that inside. And the Irish Sun is where we leave it this morning. Seamus has always put the team first. It has taken its toll. Captain's cost of dedication, writes Owen Cowser inside here. This is the quotes from the press conference with Stephen Kenny yesterday ahead of the upcoming games. And Oisín's loss is a blow, writes Jason Byrne inside. So that's what's going on across the back pages for you this morning. Lots of interesting stuff there, and plenty of build up to the games over the weekend as well. You are watching OTB AM. It's 8:38. It's Friday morning. We've still lots to come. Haven't mentioned half enough the fact that we've a live crappy quiz coming your way in a little bit. We've Will up against Ronan, up against Phil. I mean, it's odds on Phil, really. Let's face it. He is the man when it comes to the quiz, and we'll get into it a bit later on. The quiz.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm missing it now. I've only ever got to do it once. Was
a chance to make up for your disappointment with Ratoath last weekend, you know.
No, I definitely won't do that with the crappy quiz, I tell you. No chance. But no, I will. I'll make a comeback in the next few weeks. But it's not today. You
need to get on there, and you get all the smart arse comments, and I get a lot of them, about, you get your knowledge laid bare, right? I suppose is the thing that I'd say. Your sporting trivia, at least, laid bare, and it can be an unforgiving place. I find that I know other people's questions. The answer to other people's questions is a lot. But not
because
so
you're
much
calm. Because when they ask you your question, I'm thinking really fast, and I didn't know there was a timer the last time. No one told me that. So Owen was like, "Time's up." It's like, no one told me anything about the time. It is an unforgiving place, absolutely.
It's tough going. It's tough going. I'm not going to lie. So that's coming up a little bit later in the show as well. And yeah, as I said, Will O'Callaghan is the defending champion. He's putting it all on the line, and he's going to have his work cut out, given the couple of people that he's up against as well. Plenty of other comments coming into us on the. Mark Dunning saying that he sees the Yorkshire chairman has just resigned. We must have a look at that. We'll bring that news if indeed that's the case. And also lots of comments on the rugby that we had a little bit earlier on. Murray O'Mahony, Earls, etc. on the bench says Fergus Keoghan, just a case of caps for the boys. I think that Alan Quinlan, to be fair, did explain that, Fergus, in detail, that I'm happy to accept in terms of the undercooked nature of some of those players. It's also the All Blacks just around the corner. I think isn't it a serious mitigating factor? Because I have to admit, Aisling, I did start out the week thinking we got to throw a few caps out here to some of the names that Quinny is going through. You mentioned some yourself. We got to start looking at the wider picture here. But I do think, I have to say, the closer it gets to this weekend, and maybe more importantly next weekend, that I think that it probably does make a bit of sense if you're Andy Farrell.
Yeah, and this is it. He's looking at it that he needs to win games now. We're looking at it that we want development in 2 years' time to go to a World Cup. But you have Japan, which isn't an easy game. I think some people are thinking it is or something. It's not going to be an easy game. And then obviously then you're looking to get a good performance then to play the All Blacks, when maybe if the fixtures were a little bit different and it was Argentina next or Argentina first or whatever way it was, we might see some lads getting a bit more game time, getting a cap under their belt. But I understand what Quinny's saying, that you sort of got to go out with your best team, and they need to play together. They need to develop these plays. How are they going to work on set plays and everything else if they don't play together? You can't really be taking too many risks if lads aren't always going to be there. Do you know what I mean? Just to give them a cap sort of thing. So I do understand it.
Mark on YouTube has just asked the best question of the morning, and I can't believe over the course of the 2-week production that leads into a show like this, actually, we haven't asked the question ourselves, and we're absolutely putting it on the spot, but I'm also absolutely happy to do that. Mark is asking, is Mystic Aisling giving county final picks on the show this morning? How have we not thought about this in advance?
Oh God, don't do that to me. So what for what? My own county or?
Well, you can give us anything you want, because I think that pretty much there's going to be a lot of people taking notes and getting straight across to the bookie and putting a few quid
down. I think it's going to be a double Dunboyne.
Right.
Yeah, weekend, to be honest, in Meath. I think the women's team, it's hard to look by them at the moment. The momentum that they're coming off, and they won it last year too. That was their first year. They had a serious run, actually, just to mention. They went from junior to intermediate to senior. They won the junior All-Ireland, went up to intermediate, won the intermediate, and now they're up in senior.
It's a Meath thing to do that.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, that's what I think in Meath. The other ones I know is Down. Down have theirs this weekend as well. I'm living up and Down. So in the senior final, I think it's against Kilcoo and Byrne. They would be big rivals. Obviously, a lot of people know Kilcoo, and they might know Byrne as well from the All-Ireland sort of series of the club championship. And I think it's going to be tough. I don't know. That's actually a very tough one. I should actually think about that before I say anything.
We'll plan this out the next time, right? The club championship is really, in a lot of ways, only beginning, and the next time we have you on, we'll actually give you a bit of notice. And,
exactly.
I can't believe we.
But it'll be a good game.
Fair play to Will. He's all over it. We should mention, Sky News are confirming that the Yorkshire Cricket Club chairman Roger Hutton has announced his resignation in the wake of the racism allegations by former player Azim Rafiq. He said it'll be effective immediately, and he apologised unreservedly to Rafiq. So I think these are steps that need to be taken, if I'm being honest, and for the betterment of the game and the inclusion of everybody. We will keep an eye on that as we go through it. Chris on YouTube saying, lads, New Zealand will steamroll us for sure. It's a friendly series. You need to get people caps against more than Italy and Scotland. Look, we've been through it, but I don't know. I think Quinny makes a good case, and I'm all in on it. That's where we leave that for the minute. And thank you, Aisling, for the minute as well. It is coming up on 9:15. You're watching OTB AM. We are with you with Gillette, proud sponsors of Movember. Gentlemen, let's mow. We're going to have a very special crappy quiz coming your way a bit later on. We're also going to talk to Jonathan Courtney in a bit. The new Republic of Ireland jersey will be released in the next 15 minutes. It's the away jersey, and yeah, I think it'll be worth your time to have a look at that, and the man who designed it as well, Umbro's Jonathan Courtney. We'll talk to him just after 9. But before that, we have a very special chat with Patrice Evra. His new book, I Love This Game, My Autobiography, is out now, and he wrote it alongside Andy Mitten. Both in the book and in this interview, he details some of his experience of sexual abuse as a child, which some of you might find distressing. He also explains how he came to speak about that abuse in his book for the first time, and lots more besides.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
I Love This Game. The autobiography has just been released this week. Delighted to say that the man himself, Patrice Evra, joins us on the line. Hi, Patrice.
Hey, guys.
You can hear me there okay?
Yeah, you very well.
What part of the world are you in?
I'm in Manchester.
Favourite city in the world?
Yes, because that's the city where I feel home.
So it's you love to get back. I presume you have still loads of friends, and it's quite a social occasion for you.
Oh yes, I think I feel like a Mancunian. So it's just like when I come back in the city, the energy, the love, it's just amazing, and it's a lot of memory. Like I say, I feel home. I live in Dubai. I go to different beautiful places, but Manchester is just like special.
The book I've just finished in the last few days, and it's a brilliant piece, and we'll get into it. You worked with Andy Mitten on it. Had you always in mind, Patrice, that you would write a book, or was this something that just came your way?
Actually, he came away. Is Andy Mitten, the writer. It was after the game. I was still playing for Juventus, and one guy's wait after the game, and it was raining, and he said, "Can I have a chat with you?" He said, "Yeah, I'm a friend of Ryan Giggs and Gary Neville, and I'm writing for the United column, and nice to meet you." And he gave me his card, and he said, "If you want to do anything, if you want to do a book, you just let me know, and we're gonna talk about it." And I just called him one day. He visit me. He come to Juventus to visit me, and we had a chat, and we start. And he was like, "Tell me about your life," and we start recording, and we end up doing that book.
Yeah, it's incredibly honest for all that, and if we can get straight into it, Patrice, if you don't mind, the opening pages are a tough read, and I presume were very tough to write for you.
Yeah, I think it was important for me to say it, because I lived for so many years with that weight on my chest, that shame, that feeling like a coward to not speak out. It was really important for me to do it, but not for myself, for the kids outside. Being in my place, someone has to step out, and that's why I hope because I already receiving so many support, so many messages, and even some people, they've been abused the same way, and this was important because I wanted to do the most honest book I can. And to be fair, I finished the book 1 year ago, and it's just 3 months ago when I decided to put it in, because I met the woman of my life, and emotionally I'm more open than I used to be. So I'm getting rid to all that toxic masculinity and being open, and I grew up crying was a sign of weakness, but now I know crying is a strength, and I am a human being. I have to show my emotion, but I have to block all my emotion for so many years when this trauma happened to myself. But it's not an excuse, and I wanted also to show to the young generation, it's no excuse. Already born as a colored person in this world is a disadvantage. Growing in the street is about surviving, and being abused is a trauma. No excuse. I'm happy now. I'm content. I'm complete. And that's what I want the next generation when they read that book. Football is a long journey, and I'm explaining this. That's why I couldn't start that book without telling, that strong story.
Yeah, and it is a very strong story. It's a very honest story, and it is a hard story, as I said, to read. Can you take us back, Patrice? You're 13 years of age. You moved to a school away from your home area of Les Ulis, and it's a school with a bit more of a football ethos, but it's a bit far from home, and that's where the trouble begins for you.
Yeah, that's the reason why, because I was every time taking a train, and at 5 a.m, 2 hours to get to my school. I had even school on the Saturday when every of my friends have a weekend off, but it was just a school when it's not an academy school, but it's just a school when you go to school and after you can play football with some coach. So back and forth, it was start to be really heavy, and I was losing my school bag on the train. I was sleeping on the train, not getting out of the right station. So it was a nightmare. And that a teacher he said, I'm living inside the school. Instead of you going back and forth to your house, you should stay in my house. So at the beginning, it was like a dream. He was cooking for me. I had a Nintendo. I couldn't play video game. So it was perfect. And but the nightmare was every night when I was in my bedroom, and he was trying to come and abuse me and touching himself. I had even to tie my pyjama with some laces. So it was a fight, a constantly fight for 10, 15 minutes. Then in one point he succeeded, and he put his penis, my penis in his mouth. So it was weird, because even me, I didn't have any sexual relation before that. So I didn't know what was happening. I know when I was fighting, I didn't want it, no one to touch me. Yeah. When he did this, and, he was next to the bedroom, and I said to my mom, I don't want to stay to that person anymore, to that home. And she was like, why? And I said, just I don't want. But she knows something was wrong.
Yeah. You were very young, Patrice, and you weren't to understand, obviously, what was going on, and you internalised it. And, in fact, I think kept it to yourself until 3 months ago.
Yeah. The first person I opened myself was Margot, the woman of my life, because she was like, Patrice, you're such an happy person, you're such a caring person and positive, but do you care about yourself? I say, yes, I'm happy. And she said, I don't know, it's something wrong with you sometime, and we watched a documentary on TV. It was about pedophile, and when I watched it, my face suddenly changed, and she was like, you okay? I said, yeah, I'm okay. So she was trying to get in, and I don't let people in so easy. And it was she was annoying me doing that. But after I just burst in tears, and she was the first person I explained everything, because I trust her, because I feel safe next to her. Then, like I said, the big confrontation wasn't even when the book was released. It was more myself traveling to Paris and see my mom face to face and tell her that. It was a horrible day, because she was devastated. Because imagine, I was 13 years old, and now at 40 years old, I'm telling what's happening. It was even sometimes she sent me some voice note, and she still she don't understand. And she was also like, Patrice, I don't think you should put it in your book because it's private. But I was like, Mom, it's not about me, I'm fine. It's about the other kids now. So to send a message out there, and if you have been in my situation, it's easy to say go and speak out, but make sure you find someone you can trust, and trust me, it will help you a lot. So don't be afraid. It's not being about being weak or being shame of yourself I've been, or feeling like a coward. It's just to make sure, those people, they stop doing those bad things to children. So I received so many support, so many messages already. And like I said, I don't do it for myself. I really do it for the kids out there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a conversation that we're very familiar with having in this country. Patrice, has a long and storied history, particularly in relation to religious groups in this country, and the impact not only on the victim but also on the families around that survivor can be huge. Obviously, in terms of, you mentioned in the book about the shame and the guilt, the impact is a ripple of impact, doesn't it, even well beyond yourself?
It's all the people around you, the family, like, he built me, like, now I understand, like, so many things. Sometimes, you know, I see my friend dying or even a member of my family, my brother, and I couldn't cry because, you know, you just stop all your emotion and you just, like, start to don't trust anyone. I didn't trust anyone in my life because of that. And it is a massive damage for the family, especially even when my brother and sister, I told them, they were all devastated and people feel guilty. And my mom said one thing, you know, because I keep saying sorry, she said you should say sorry to no one else. You know, we are sorry to not be here and to understand something was wrong. So, yeah, it's a massive damage for even the people around you.
The police, I believe, called you years later. They were following up on other investigations about the same teacher. Did anything ever come of that? I know at that time you weren't in a position to respond to that at that time, but did anything ever come of those investigations into that teacher?
That's what my mom asked me, and like I say, you know, when you got those things, you want to bury them. You just don't want to talk about it. You just, you know, don't want to know what's happening next. I didn't. I think I'm sure, like, because my book come out now, those people from the police, they will maybe try to reach me or reach my team. I don't know. I don't know, to be fair. And my mom was like, if he's not dead, I'm going to kill you. But I was like, you see, Mom, maybe it's the destiny. If I told you that 13 years ago, maybe you will end up in jail and I won't have the same education and, you know, not living with my mom. So I think everything come for a reason. And I don't know, let's see. Maybe I'm going to be reached by the police and telling me why, you know, when you were 24, you didn't say it. And, you know, so we'll see.
Yeah, well, it's clear from the book and it's clear from talking to you that you're doing it for the reason of people that might be in the same situation and to try and get help for those who might be. So you're doing a very good thing and well done and well spoken out on it as well. Can I talk to you about some other aspects of it, Patrice? You word it as your addiction to Manchester United. The friends, the fans, the rivalries, the teammates. Tough time for your family, I think, in Manchester at that time as well. And your respect for Alex Ferguson is a huge theme all the way through. Can you talk about your relationship with Alex Ferguson now for us?
It's bigger than a manager. It's even him. I told him the abuse before I released in the book. It's someone I really trust. It's someone when I signed, say, Patrice, you know, here you can be yourself. But the definition between my relationship with Ferguson, I was always scared to disappoint him. So it's such a mutual respect. You know, I'm going to see him. We have lunch. I introduced him to Margot and my baby Lilas, and I'm going to see him actually Saturday. We talked last night. He was like, I'm going to sue you with my lawyers because you talk too good about me. So it's more than a manager. And that's why, you know, when he had his incident, I was like devastated. But when his son, Jason, sent me a message and say, Patrice, I just want to make sure like my dad will be okay. And I know you are one of the few people he was happy to giving any news. I was like, wow, feeling really privileged. But it's just our connection will never end, and it's getting better and better.
Yeah, like it's funny. I'm actually really interested. The reason I laughed when you said that he was saying to set his lawyers on you about the positive things. You also do get to see that Alex Ferguson is a 3D character and not without his flaws at times.
No, but I think Ferguson, he gave the edge right to many players, and some of them even cry. You could be scared of your dad, but Ferguson was something else. Yeah, I always think one day he's going to die of a heart attack. The way he's shouting and the fan and the face, and it's like I say, outside the pitch, it's just amazing. But when the game starts, you need to bleed for United, and our relationship was so special. Then I always say that story. We were winning against Tottenham 2-0, and I was playing an amazing game. So we came back half time. Everyone was, oh, Patrice, you're on fire. And the boss, didn't speak for 3-5 minutes. And when he don't speak, he mean like someone is in trouble. And he looked at me, he said, Patrice, are you okay? I said, yes, I'm okay. He said, "Are you tired?" And when he said that, I look around, I think it was a prank. I was like, no, I'm not. And I was smiling. He said, "Why you pass the ball back to Andrew van der Sar?" I said, "Because I didn't have any solution for her." It was like, if you do that again, you're gonna end up and watching the game next to me. This is one of the worst game you ever played since you played for United. So he destroyed me, and I don't like the injustice. So I stood up, and we are talking face to face, and I was so angry. And the second half, we won like 4-0. The next day, because I'm someone I like also to talk and, to understand what's happening. The next day, I knock his office. I said, "Boss, what's happened yesterday?" He said, "Oh, son, you were the best player in the pitch, but, because Cristiano Ronaldo was doing some trick, the other player, they were missing some chance. So, when you play for United, you have to score one goal and the second and the third." So, and he said, "Get out of my office," French, I won't say the swearing. And at the end, I understand, I said, this guy, he just sent a message to the team, and he picked the best player on the pitch to make sure the other player, they "Ooh, if he's killing me, imagine them." So it's just that kind of relationship, that trust. I can do everything for him, and he can do everything,
Yeah. Yeah, and that trust and that loyalty obviously was a factor. And he stood by you around Luis Suarez has been back in the headlines obviously during the week. He's been back at Liverpool this week, and everybody's chatting about him again. And you go into big detail in the book about all that affair, the racist abuse obviously at that time, the hearing, the Liverpool reaction. The thing that I couldn't believe after all of that, and it really... look, it was an interesting piece where you had said a couple of years later you actually voted for him for PFA Player of the Year.
Yeah, because I don't have any hate. I don't have any hate in my heart, and I judge the players, not the person. Never be the best person in the world. But like I said, I don't call Luis as a racist because I don't know him close enough to call him that way. But that day, he used to raise his word. He tried to deny he's been banned, and I was in shock when the Liverpool team, they came out with the shirt and supporting because the ban was already done. So I was so delighted and surprised when Jamie Carragher in live TV, and he apologized for what he did 9 years ago, wearing that shirt. And I received some email from the owner of Liverpool saying, "We're really sorry, and whatever, you're more than welcome to come in Anfield," and stuff like that. So, I turned the page. I play against Luis Suarez in the final of Champions League when I was at Juventus, and I was talking with Neymar, and he came and I shake his hand. So, like I say, I'm someone I forgive.
There was a very funny story where yourself and your brother bumped into him and his family in Selfridges.
Yeah, but that's funny and not funny, because I think that there I could do something really bad, wrong, the dark side. Coming again, yes, we saw him at Selfridges. He was on his own first. My brother said, "Oh, Luis is over there." And as I start walking toward him, and I see his little girl and his wife. So I was like, okay, don't do something stupid, the family is there. But 100% if his family wasn't there that day, something bad will happen.
You've mentioned it actually a couple of times about the dark side, Patrice, and the anger, and it is a common theme throughout the book. How hard was it for you, and by the sounds of things, it could be difficult at times. You're not unique in that regard. A Rooney or a Costa or Roy Keane, I suppose, would have been another one that was like that mongrel, that dog on the pitch that would really get stuck in. Hard to always leave that on the pitch, though.
It was hard, because that's why the game, that's why people was like, "Patrice, oh my God, this guy's, when it's the game, his face changes, a killer." And they're like, even people, they could understand my social media right now, seeing me smiling and this, because that's the whole adrenaline, that's why when I wake up in the morning, the first things I do is not having a breakfast, is going in the gym, doing my stuff, my exercise, because I've got that that fire inside. And that's the kind of fire I had all my life, because it helped me to survive. I can do nothing about it. I grew up in the street, so fighting was something normal. Some is it's all about surviving. So yeah, a few days it wasn't easy. I had lot of issue, and I fight with the groundman staff of Chelsea. in Monaco also with a fan, Marseille, you know. So sometimes, you know, we are human beings. I love when people say, oh, they are football players, they shouldn't do that, they shouldn't. But I am a human being. I've got emotion, I've got real feeling. So when you hurt me, you know, my defense, you know, was like to answer back, but with my fist. But that's why now I know fist is not a solution. But that's the way I am. And I improve a lot. When my woman, she's next to me, I feel peace, I feel safe. But of course, everyone has that fire inside.
18th of November 2009, Patrice, I don't know if that's a date that rings a huge amount of bells for you. When I tell you the location, you'll probably get a bit clearer with the Stade de France, France versus Ireland. Obviously, the game has become infamous at this point. Where were you on the pitch when William Gallas scores that goal?
No, I was behind. I think I wasn't too far. And I remember that game well because what a game. We won the first leg in Ireland 1-0, and the second leg, I think we didn't play in France, we played in Ireland because the Irish fan was just amazing. We had the worst first half. We were really losing 1-0. They battered us. And half time, the man was speaking like, come on, guys, it's going to be okay. And I remember I stood up, I said, guys, we are shitting ourselves. We're not going to the World Cup. They are like destroying us. So it was like a wake-up call. I have a big talk at the half time. Then we came in, and that goal came. And the way the French people, they destroyed Thierry Henry, I was really, really upset because, some people, it's funny, they were like, oh, he should have go and say, I did the handball, so fair enough. But I think even his own teammate and even his country, they will maybe bring the guillotine back for Thierry Henry. So that game, I remember I had a little silly comment, like a joke when I come back in Manchester. They were like, oh, we should replay the game. And I was like, I think we should replay the game in a PlayStation and stuff like that. But now, the Irish people, I have so much respect for them. And I even went in Dublin and I did the river dance. So to tell you, I'm learning that culture, many things. And I've been to that countryside when it's the massive mountain and it's the giant sleeping. And I was even to John O'Shea, but I don't know, your country is so so beautiful, so alive, such a positive energy. So yes, that episode was not nice, but not for us. It was not nice for the Irish people and for Thierry Henry.
Yeah.
And I think it was even worse for Thierry Henry.
Yeah, there was definitely a few people this side of the water, Patrice, who wanted his head in a guillotine. What was the reaction when you guys were on the pitch afterwards? There was obviously a lot of the Irish players were over to the official and to the referee. What were your, as players on the pitch at that time, what was your reaction?
No, my reaction was we didn't see it. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know. I knew after the game when I see the replay and we saw the handball, but during the game, I don't know which Irish players said it was a handball because I don't have any image in my head. And I didn't ask Thierry Henry if he did a handball during the game because I was more focused to make sure to don't lose and qualify for the World Cup. So I wasn't aware of that just after the game. And
so when you say after the game, was that you guys were still in the dressing room and you were still together at that stage?
Yeah, we were still together. That's when we see the image because you have a TV in the dressing room, and that's why we saw that. But we didn't. It was a silence. We didn't laugh about it. Even the manager, it's not like we celebrate. I remember it was so weird because when you have the feeling you just didn't qualify for the World Cup. Because it was what's going on?
Just in terms of the reaction on the pitch, in the dressing room afterwards, after all that then, did it become a point of conversation or was it just look, it happened,
no,
it's done?
Taboo. It was silence, like I say. It wasn't any celebration. It wasn't any happy. It was just weird. It was just flat, because we saw what's happened and we're sometimes you like to win maybe in a better way, but at the end, that's why I say it's too easy for people to say I wish we were doing this. I'm not sure, like an Irish player, if he did that, he will say like, okay, hands up, because his country will destroy him. Like some people will say like, yes, but some people will say like, the football world is a dirty word. It's not like clean. Like some people, they will cheat to win a game. So that's why I don't want like people, they like to come with the best idea. Oh, if it was me. It wasn't you. I wasn't Thierry Henry. So I would never say what I was going to do because it didn't happen to me.
One last one on that just before we wrap. Did you speak to John O'Shea about it? How did that conversation go?
When I remember when he was to Manchester, Jay-Z was still like upset. And no, we didn't talk about it. He just was, you just lucky bastard. That's what he was saying. But we never talk about it. And I feel like Ireland every time when we play against them, even in the Euros, where it was such a magnificent game, you can feel the country still have that when now how they play against France, because it's like they didn't go to the World Cup. But to be fair, I think they didn't do us a favor to qualify for that World Cup because we saw what's happening in 2010. So it was more like a curse or a karma. I don't know.
Yeah, we enjoyed it, Patrice. Can I say that?
No, but I'm not surprised. And it's not like, I will be like, oh my God, I will, the same place, I will celebrate it. So, everything happened for a reason in life. And maybe, that moment, maybe France was not supposed to go to the World Cup, but we're going to keep saying the if, but it happened, it's history. We can talk about it openly and honestly. But of course, like if I'm an Irish and I see a team like striking for the World Cup, I will like, oh, you deserve it.
The book is a brilliant read. There's loads of detail about that World Cup and future World Cups as well, and lots of other details. We could talk to you for a couple of hours, Patrice, but I know you're under pressure there to get out of here. You've been really good with telling your story. Can't recommend the book enough. Thanks a million for chatting to us, and catch up with you again soon.
You're more than welcome.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
Yeah, the book is I Love This Game. It's Patrice Evra in the company of Andy Minton, and it's really worth your while, as I said earlier, particularly if you're a Manchester United fan. If you came in halfway through that, you want to check out the full piece, just jump on our OTB Sports app, download it from the App Store, hit subscribe, because that means that we can hit you up when the best stuff is happening, and equally you can check it out on our YouTube channel as well. It's all up there, as is all the best stuff from this morning. Now, big news this morning. There's a new Ireland away jersey, and I'm delighted to say that we're joined on the line now by the man who's at least partially, Johnny, I know from the last time we had you on, and maybe much more than just partially involved in putting this together. It's the MD of GAA Sports, Jonathan Courtney. Good morning to you.
Morning, how's it going?
Brand new Republic of Ireland away kit. We're going to put it up on screens for people to have a look at here now. And the last time we had you on, pretty much a direct quote was, it was a colour that was underutilised, a third of our flag, and we should use it more. And hey presto, we're back in orange.
Yeah, well, I suppose I had some prior knowledge that I couldn't share at that point, so I knew what was coming down the line. So I suppose in one way I was teeing it up, but Ger had asked a direct question about was there a chance of the orange kit coming back? So I didn't want to ruin the surprise as such, but it had been something that had been in my mind for a while since, it was also partly to do with the centenary of the FAI, but partly to do with the fact that it was also 25 years since we had the last orange kit, or the only orange kit we've had until today. So there's kind of nice synergies there in the anniversary kind of years.
And it's a different type of a shade of orange. Lollipop orange I see in the press release, which is a
popsicle orange. Yeah, designers have to get these crazy descriptions in, so popsicle was the shade. So if you imagine your ice pop from when you were a kid, it's probably taken from that shade. But the last time we did it in 97, it was a neon orange, or an a luminous orange, if you like, whereas this one it's still a bright orange, but it's not quite that luminous shade, so it's a little bit toned down.
Are you bracing yourself in a morning like this for, is this going to go down well? How are people going to feel it? Or have you done a bit of testing in advance and you're kind of...
Oh, well, look, I mean, social media being the animal that it is, I always describe these things as people who like it probably hit the heart button on Twitter or whatever, and they move on. People who want to comment and troll and all that sort of stuff, they dive in and give all sorts of reasons why everything is wrong with the world. So
we're familiar here.
Yes, we've all experienced it. So I take it with a grain of salt. I mean, I would never I would never start a design process from the point of view of worrying what people were going to say about it, or you'd never do anything.
Exactly.
So, so I'm not overly concerned about that. I'm not saying we read the room exactly. We didn't go around and canvass and ask everybody exactly what they thought. But I mean, one of the things we did look at was there's a huge draw towards retro kits at the moment. And I know that orange kit that we did in 97 was massively popular, and they're quite rare now, and they're kind of selling on eBay for 5-6 times the price that they were originally. So it's kind of a hen's teeth situation. So I thought, well, people might have a bit of an issue with it. I don't agree with anybody who tries to politicize a football shirt or the colours of a football shirt. I just think that's nonsense, and those people probably have bigger issues. But I do think that, as I said previously, it's a third of our national flag. People can like that or not like it, but I think it's underutilized, and I think that this is a cool and different kit that in the year of a centenary of the FAI, I think we should be celebrating the flag, celebrating the colours, and that's why we brought it back.
Yeah, no, it's a nice piece of kit, all right. It's funny because I was talking to Brian Howard a couple of weeks ago on the show about the launch of the new Dubs jersey, and I was sort of interested to know about the level of input from the players' point of view. If the WhatsApp group gets sort of lit up that morning with everybody going, it's like it looks like the Argentina kit. People will be familiar with it over the last couple of weeks. And he was kind of like, yeah, the players sort of easy come, easy go. Are you guys chatting to the players in advance, or are you taking any input there, or is it like, listen lads, this is what you're wearing?
We would do it more when we do talk to the players. It would be more about input on training wear and kind of bench wear and stuff like that. Generally, it's not really. I suppose to some degree we kind of work off the basis that we would like to think that we know what we're doing in terms of design and leading football direction, whereas it's kind of the committee version of a horse is a camel, and you have too many voices, so you can end up with all sorts of suggestions, and you can't ram all those things into one design. So. We'll take input from players on the likes of, whether they want zipped pockets or open pockets, and various little things for where their headphones go, and all those kind of little details that make maybe travel and training a little bit easier. But in terms of kit, we normally lead the direction. The first time players will see it generally is in the photo shoot. Now, we 3 the guys, 3 the girls this time do the photo shoots, and I have to say there was a brilliant reaction from the kits. Now, generally there is, because they're actually surprisingly interested in the kits most of the time, and to the point where they're asking questions about the ideas and where it came from and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, all I can say is that from the people who attended, the players that attended the photo shoot from both the men's and women's teams, there's been a really strong reaction to it, and I know you'll be showing some of those pictures there as we speak. And you can kind of see there was a bit of happiness on the face of the players. Sometimes it's not the easiest thing to do. Some players don't want to do photo shoots and do these extra commercial things, but to be fair to the Irish guys and girls who we interact with, I have to say they always come down with a smile on their face and have a bit of fun while they're doing it.
Yeah, Jonathan, the pictures look great there. The blue shirt obviously was such a massive success. It was sold out. It's really tough to get. Will it be back?
No plans to bring the blue one back. I mean, a lot of people have asked for it, and a lot of people who missed out on it. But I mean, I just keep saying, look, it was a limited edition. It was always a limited edition. It went on sale 6 weeks before it was worn by the team. So people did have plenty of time to buy it. Now, not everybody might have seen that. And I suppose once it was on the seen on pitch, I suppose, that night, then the men's sizes absolutely flew out, and they were sold out by half time. I think there's still a couple of kid sizes around. Elvery's might have them on their website still. But I mean, that was absolutely a phenomenal success because it was something that was so different. And I think people understood the story. As I said on this show previously when we were talking about the blue kit, there was a bit of education in that for people. And I don't mean that in any sort of patronising way. People just didn't know that we wore blue. Everybody was suddenly going, why are we wearing blue? But that's good because it gets the conversation started and gets people talking about things. And from that point of view, that's good for us then, because obviously people take an interest in the kit and hopefully ultimately buy it,
From the last time you were on, Jonathan, have you and people who can go back and watch that chat where we had a good deep dive on the previous orange jersey, have you had to take on extra security now, or what's the vibe?
I'm hoping that we don't have any security issues like that. I suppose for anybody listening, if they didn't hear the previous interview, we had a massive robbery the night after we launched the last orange kit 25 years ago, and it was the biggest non-bank and non-jewellery robbery in the state at the time, so it was quite substantial, and a lot of those orange jerseys went missing. So that may explain why not many of the people who wanted to buy them ever got to handle them.
Yeah. And as you said, that full chat is up there. I watched it last night, just in the context chat this morning. It's a great old yarn. Listen, best of luck with the launch today. It's a beautiful looking piece of kit, and we will catch up with you again down the track.
Great stuff. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a million. Johnny Courtney there, who's a man very centrally involved with the launch of that new jersey, as you can gather, and available now at all good sports stores. Right, it's 9:19. It's Friday morning, and I do need to let you know that, as I mentioned earlier in the show, you can see that I'm very badly trying to grow a bit of facial hair here, and it isn't just because I'm being lazy this week, but it is in support of Movember. You've been following, if you've been with us for the last couple of weeks, Tommy's been in conversation with Colin McShane and Matty Rowan to kick things off a couple of weeks back, and a really good in-depth chat, again available up on our YouTube channel. We spoke to Sean O'Hara yesterday, who's running 30 marathons in 30 days, all again in support of Movember. You can check out his progress on his Instagram channel. He's running around the Phoenix Park, and you can check that out, and you can go and donate, and you can actually go and run with him if you're that way minded, just to give him a bit of support in that way. So we're right behind it for the month, and we'll be having loads of check-ins over the course of the month, right across OTB AM and on the radio show as well. But just to give you the update so far, we are going to do a ranking at some point here when we get people's growth up and running enough. So we're not going to judge people too much yet. Ger Gilroy, who, as we established last week, had really jumped the gun with getting his Salvador Dali, as he's aiming for, in June. And just in case that my shot isn't close enough, there you can see that it's not great, Aisling, is it? I mean, it's do you know, I'm not going to lie, it's only about 2 or 3 days growth. I actually forgot about it earlier in the week and still got the razor out. So
well, I obviously don't know, but I'm guessing that these few days are the worst, where it's it's in between. It just looks like, as
you look like an Egypt, essentially. Yeah. Aisling, is that you're being very nice about it, but I've a 50th party to go to on Saturday, followed by a 40th party on the same day, and I'm going to continue to look like an Egypt. I'm sort of unsure as to whether should I make a stab at shaving it now and then go around with this sort of thing, or just let it grow.
No, you'll just meet everybody and tell every single person you meet, sorry now, it's just that I'm doing Movember.
That's right. Just in case you're wondering, I'm not.
No, I wasn't wondering about that. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly the way that stuff goes. So look, we are going to keep rolling track. Tommy and Joe over the course of the month are going to do a ranking every week and just let us know exactly where we stand on it. Owen is all aboard as well. And as we said before, do keep an eye and keep a check in with us on that over the course of the month. Movember.ie if you want to go along. And it isn't just about growing a mo. We've people across the team as well. Cian Fahey is going to get aboard the movement one, so you can take on an exercise challenge over the course of the month if growing a mo is not for you. And as I said, it is all with thanks to Gillette, who are proud sponsors of Movember. Gentlemen, let's mow. And you can go along to Movember.ie to check out much more of that. OTB Sports Radio over the course of the day, 1 o'clock, Jason Sherlock will be the subject of OTB Gold. After that, we're going to have live Friday night racing from 3 today. Pat Fenlon is the subject of the Team 33 League of Ireland Legend interview from 4. Chris Waddle in the hot seat from 6 o'clock in OTB Gold. And then 7 o'clock is Off the Ball live on your radio as well. So we're going to have Eoin Sheehan, as you'll have gathered, is not alongside me in studio this morning. We should mention that at the very top of the show, Aisling. He's not off either, just enjoying himself, although there is a little bit of that. He's over in the States ahead of a big announcement that landed last night, which is that Navy and Notre Dame are going to take part in the Aer Lingus College Football Classic for 2023. He has a very special report coming from that, but I think that's coming up. I should mention first of all, Aisling, thanks a million for coming on this morning, and apologies for not teeing you up on we're going to put that right the next time you're on with your picks.
With my picks? What's my picks?
Your GA, your club championship picks. We're coming back to that. I've already been speaking to the people who hold any sway around this place, and that's happening.
Happy days. I'm on it.
Good on you. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Adrian.
Have a good day. Thanks, Adrian. Aisling O'Reilly there. Now, we're going to Owen in just a few minutes. Before that, ads.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
Have you subscribed to the OTB Football Podcast? If not, here's some of what you've missed over the last week.
Xavi, is it a done deal? Is it close to being a done deal? Is there anybody else who might get this gig?
There was a list when Barcelona last thought about this. Well, there's timing, isn't it? I've just got a message from Charlie. That's his crack, he says. So it's literally, honestly, I can't show you that. Nice little one, isn't it?
Subscribe now to the OTB Football Podcast stream wherever you get your podcasts and download the OTB Sports app.
Radio and audio in Ireland has never been more powerful, more effective, or had more opportunity for growth. And now Radio Centre Ireland is here, we're looking to accelerate. To do that, we're looking for a CEO with a focus on increasing advertising investment and championing radio's unique advantages that make it so effective, flexible, and impactful. We need a candidate with the experience, credibility, and vision to lead, drive, influence, shape, and grow this industry. Someone who will be our voice, representing and promoting radio to commercial partners and agencies alike as a medium that delivers return on investment. If that's you, we want to hear from you. And we know we will, because radio works. Apply now. Visit radiocentreireland.ie.
OTB AM.
With Gillette, proud supporters of Movember. Gentlemen, let's move.
Chris Waddle.
Oh, you're kidding me. September.
Kyle Lafferty.
Are you joking me?
Is that right?
I know, it's not right.
Anybody else?
Leash, was it?
Like, that is one of the most stupid questions.
Darius Vassell? Seriously, you all need to just stay quiet. This is getting really annoying doing this quiz.
What is going on here?
Hello, it's 9:25. It's Friday morning. It's time to take a breath. Everybody relax, chill out. It's been a busy week. You've got a great weekend ahead of you. The weather's going to be amazing. I believe it's going to be 25 degrees. Sunshine out, guns out. It's time for the quiz. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome along to the shoutiest segment on Irish radio. It's the scintillating, the stupefying, the splendido crappy quiz. Every Friday we pit three of Team Off the Ball up against each other in our no-holds-barred quiz of sporting factoids at the end of the week. Allow me to welcome today's contestants. Not myself, happily for you. Our first contestant today is Off the Ball's resident boxing aficionado. He's getting ready to line up a few left hooks of trivia. He's back in the quiz and back to remind the country that, and his opponents, by the way, that often people with barely passable, unnamed people with barely passable levels of sports trivia compete in this quiz. He's the fighting pride of Dublin. Give it up for Phil, the Power Egan.
How are you doing?
Phil, what's happening?
Good, yeah. This is a novel lineup we have today.
It's a very novel lineup, it's a novel host, and I appreciate everybody's patience and goodwill towards the quiz today.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen with Liverpool this season, they've mixed up their midfield a lot. It feels like that's what we're doing today.
I feel that goodwill is going to be the order of the day. There'll be a lot of, and maybe that's a pretense of what's to come up a bit later on. But I think there's not going to be much rancour. That's what I'm saying. Next contestant is the contested linear champion for the title of Off the Ball Residence Boxing Aficionado. Getting ready to line up a few left hooks of trivia. He is Loud's answer to Norman Mailer. Give it up for the sweet scientist, Ronan. No, not that one. Mullen.
Lads, how's it going?
What's happening, Ronan?
It's good to be back. I think come what may here, Adrian, myself and Andy Lee are the reigning crappy quiz decade champions, so we hold that title for another 8 years by my math, so we'll be grand whatever happens today.
You're fully bought into the spirit of crappy quiz, just making up some stuff to make yourself sound better on, and that's it exactly what this is all about. Our last contestant this morning is reaping the rewards of being Offaly's newest sporting sensation. Seamus Darby has been forgotten. Shane Lowry's granny has a new favourite sports person. That's right, he's the somewhat contested after a few dodgy rounds last week crappy quiz champion. And after racking up a grand total of 1 point, give it up for Will, a shot and a goal, O'Callaghan.
They all count, Adrian Barry. And also, Shane Lowry's granny 2 years ago finished ahead of me on Laois's list of favourite Offaly people. So this one is personal.
It's got real.
She was in first place. I think I was in fifth.
Wow. So that's where we're at this morning, and as I said, we appreciate everybody's patience, and including with me particularly. As ever, the format is the classic crappy quiz. It's a series of questions on a range of themes, as you'll be familiar with, and it's on then to the slip and slide of trivia, the rapid fire round. So contestants at the ready. You can podcast, by the way, the crappy quiz. It's on otbsports.com. You can head along to the sports app, and if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you click that thumbs up, give us a subscribe, whatever it is. If we do nothing but contribute misery to your day, we still want that good stuff. So please also send on any questions to us via postcard. Crappy quiz, Quizmaster, Off the Ball Towers, Marconi House, Diggs Lane, Dublin 2. You know the drill. Right, it's time to kick off. It's the boring questions round one, never multiple choice. Phil, first question for you. Who is Manchester United's current third longest serving active player using their first senior appearance as the starting date? I will give you that question again because I appreciate how confusing it is.
Very confusing.
Who is Manchester United's third longest serving active player? That's the question. And then the clarification is you need to use their first senior appearance as the starting date.
Okay, so that's where kind of the Ronaldo thing comes in. So it's to do with Ronaldo. But
I don't have very good poker
It's
face.
not going to be
Ronaldo.
Ronaldo. It's not going to be Ronaldo. So he's going to be the first one. You got to think of the other two. Sorry, I'm struggling here already.
Oh, listen, it's classic crappy quiz format. Spool through the nonsense before you give us the answer.
Debuts, right? Okay, let's think. It could be.
What are you thinking, Phil?
I'm trying to think. I think it could be.
Say what you see.
I'm going to say Juan Mata.
Woof. Inspired. That was a get. David De Gea was second, and Phil Jones is number one. So actually, not a Ronaldo.
Not
question.
Ronaldo. I kind of. Yeah.
All these Paul McShane into your considerations there, Adrian.
All these questions will, and I appreciate where you're coming from, but active player being the key of this question.
I think he's an active player.
First team player, though, I'd
he's
say.
active with players, and also I'm not standing over the what's written on the page in front of me here. That's the end of it. That is the final answer. It's all answers plucked from Wikipedia.
It's quite generous to describe Phil Jones as an active player. He hasn't played in about 4 years, but listen, sure, look.
Concurrent stretch has been the clarification here, but I'm hearing you. Ronan, question one for you. LeBron James was a voice actor in which 2018 animated feature film? LeBron James, animated feature film, 2018. What was it?
Wouldn't be a big consumer of animated films, Adrian, I must admit.
No, but you'd be a big consumer of LeBron James, and I think that's where the Quizmaster is coming from.
I know, I've seen him in Trainwreck. He's very good in that. Obviously, Space Jam goes without saying. I don't know. I'm going to say Inside Out.
Correct. Smallfoot, of course.
No,
I'm not sure anybody would have got that. It grossed a reported $214 million at the box office, would you believe? So
he is good in Trainwreck, though. I'd recommend.
He's brilliant in it. Yeah,
not a great film, but he's got great acting chops, which didn't quite translate to Space Jam, I would say. But sure, look, he's doing all right for himself, Adrian, I'd say.
No points for you, Ronan. So, question one for you, Will. Which side did Jaap Stam end his club playing career?
AC Milan.
Anybody else?
He must have gone back to Holland. Like Feyenoord or something?
Just throw in the buzzer. Ajax, 2007. Okay. I thought that was actually relatively straightforward. There we go. So after round one, it's Phil on 1 point, Ronan and Will on no points. Round two, to mark the transition from Halloween, and I'm just reading what it says in front of me here, and I apologise in advance, to the start of the festive period. Our next round is called It's a Wonderful Strike. Question two for you, Phil. In what year did David Beckham score his iconic goal from the halfway line?
I'm going to say 1996.
Correct. Against?
Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Poor old Neil Sullivan.
Poor old Kenny Cunningham, I believe, was also on the flight path, wasn't he? Somewhere along the track. Right, 2 points for you, Phil. Ronan, to get off the mark, question two for you. In what year did Roberto Carlos score his famous banana kick free kick from range for Brazil? Roberto Carlos.
97.
Correct. Ronan is up and running. 97 Tournoi de France warm-up tournament for the 98 tournament course. Question two for you, Will, to get off the mark. In what year did Tony Yeboah score hitting the underside of the crossbar also against Wimbledon?
I think it's 1995.
Correct. Clean sweep of correct answers in that round. which leaves us Phil still 1 point ahead on 2, Ronan and Will on a point apiece. Now, into round 3 we go. This is I'm sure you're all very familiar with, the Pass the Parcel of Doom round. Everybody familiar?
Great round.
Yeah, to be honest, I've played this twice. I'm still not sure of the rules, and I'm just going to go with what's in front of me.
All I see, a lot of positive interaction on the off the ball tweet machine about this round, so I'm looking forward to taking part.
Okay, right, here we go. I'm going to ask, there's 3 questions here. I'm going to ask for a list in each one. I'm going to put one of you in rotation in first, and then the others will follow. And if you give a wrong answer or you cannot continue, you lose a point, and the last player standing will keep all their points. So, just to clarify that for myself, if you're out, you're going to lose a point, and the last player standing keeps their point. So it's a bit of a negative, positive situation.
Okay.
Phil, you're going to start with our first one here. Ireland beat Gibraltar 7-0 in 2014 at the Aviva. Who was in the matchday squad? So just one answer each and around, and you'll go first. I'm deciding that Ronan is going to go second, and then to Will.
Okay, so Robbie Keane.
Robbie Keane, correct, yeah.
Scored a hat-trick.
Wes Houlihan?
Correct.
Glenn Whelan?
Correct.
Cyrus Christie.
Have we got a faller at the first? Cyrus Christie was not in the squad, Phil. You are out and deducted 1 point.
Can I just double check the year, Adrian?
The year was 2014, Ronan.
Stephen Ward?
Correct.
Shane Duffy?
No, incorrect. Bit before Duffy's time there, Will. All of which means Phil is reduced back to 1 point. Ronan stays on 1 point, and Will is now on 0. If I've interpreted the rules of that correctly, Phil, and who the F knows, but that's
so
what I'm rolling.
I don't even get a point for winning the parcel round.
You keep your point.
Keep a point.
That's the reward there. Now, but we have 2 more rounds of the parcel round. Again, I'm not 100% sure why we don't have just one, but that's the way it works. Ronan, you're going to go first. Will, you're going to be second, and then Phil, you'll go last in this one. This time, Ronan, for you to begin, we're looking for the teams who made the round of 16 at the 2006 World Cup. Away
Switzerland? Switzerland?
Correct.
Argentina?
Correct.
2006, you said?
Yes.
Germany?
Correct.
Italy?
Yes.
France?
Yes.
Brazil?
Yes.
England?
Yes.
USA?
Incorrect, Will. You are down to -1 in the overall standings.
Mexico?
Yes. 6.
Sweden?
7 more to choose from. Sweden is correct. Six options, one of them very obvious. More than one very obvious.
Spain?
Correct.
Uruguay?
Uruguay is a good answer, Ronan. It's just not right. I mean, in general World Cup knockout rounds, Uruguay, you got to throw that out there. The names that were left behind: Ecuador, Netherlands, Portugal and Ukraine. And Phil was left standing, so he hangs on to his point, and Ronan, you go from 1 to 0. That's that one. Last one of this bizarre round, and Will, you're going to go first. And if I'm right, Phil, is it you go second here and then Ronan last? That's the way we work it. Fantastic. The Atlanta Braves won the MLB World Series this week. Can you name the other championship winning teams since and including the year 2000? We need the team name and the state or the city which they represent. So MLB World Series, all the other championship winning teams apart from this year, including the year 2000 between then and now.
The Boston Red Sox.
Correct.
The San Francisco Giants.
Correct.
That was going to be my one. Houston Astros.
That is incorrect. You are out, Ronan.
New York Yankees.
Correct.
The Chicago White Sox.
Correct.
LA Dodgers? Probably not.
Hang on a second now. So I'm going to give you the point on that, and I'm going to introduce a bizarre wrinkle here because it's my bad. And Ronan, you are back in the mix. Your answer is absolutely written down here in black and white in front of me. So you're back in play. Everybody's still alive. Everybody.
Say again, Ronan.
He said the Houston
Astros.
Yes. No, that's absolutely my bad, and I'm happy to correct that on recommendation here. So everybody's still alive, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8 teams still remaining.
Okay, so where are we at now? Is it my turn?
So I'm going to put Ronan back in now just because he's had a couple of rounds off, and then we'll resume order.
I stopped paying attention to the answers. I thought I was out.
Well, the answers we've had so far are the Houston Astros, Chicago White Sox, LA Dodgers, San Francisco Giants, Boston Red Sox, and New York Yankees.
The Cubs? Chicago Cubs?
Chicago Cubs, yeah.
Me?
Who's up next? Phil, you're next.
The St. Louis Cardinals.
Correct. Good round, lads.
I think I'm out of major league teams that I know now at this stage. No, I'm going to pass it. No idea.
Will, you're out. That's you back to -2 overall. Ronan, stay alive.
Trying to think of a team from Washington. No, I'm blank on this.
Ronan's gone. Phil stays alive, keeps his point. Ronan does go to -1 after all that. It's probably justice, even though I made a cock up right in the middle of it there. Washington, you were right. The Nationals, Florida Marlins, Arizona Diamondbacks, Anaheim Angels, Philadelphia Phillies, and the Kansas City Royals.
Oh, I was going to say Cleveland just for Charlie Sheen and Major League, but obviously not there.
There we go, guys. Right, that's it. That's where we're at. So after that round, bizarre and all as it was, Phil, it's Squid Game inspired, essentially. You sort of just stay alive. That's what's happening. And you've done that. 1 point. Rona, you go to -1. And Will, you are on -2. The defending champion up against it as we head into round 4. Pens at the ready. The fun-free magic number round. Contestant will get 3 points for getting the number exactly right. If you don't manage that and nobody manages it, the nearest contestant who doesn't go bust will get 2 points. Second closest will get 1 point. Again, I'm going to state that we can only accept the answer that's written on your paper. I'm also going to have to ask you for pens down once the music ends. So if you don't mind, give us the following number. The number of Katie Taylor's total number of pro fights. The number of All-Ireland medals won by Bernard Brogan Jr. Bruno Fernandes' total number of assists in the 2020-2021 Premier League season. And the number of goals scored by Ian Hart for the Republic of Ireland. Your 30 seconds expire when Sinatra sings Bright Shiny Beads. As ever, all numbers plucked from Wikipedia. So, Katie Taylor's total pro fights. Number of All-Irelands won by Bernard Brogan Jr. Fernandes assists this season, 2021 season, and number of senior goals scored by Ian Hart for the Republic of Ireland. Right. What have we got? Pens down. Phil, go first.
Okay, I think I've got 51. I'm just trying to make sure I've added up my numbers right. So, yeah, 51.
51, you are bust. Well,
I've gone for 48.
Put up your bit of paper there. Both of you put up your bit of paper, no cheating. 48 for you, Will, and Ronan.
I also had 51, so I'm out.
Bust. So, Will, that means that you get... The nearest who doesn't go gets 2 points. So you're back to 0, Will. What a round this has been for you. You're back in the game. I can tell you that the correct answer was, in fact, 50. I mean, I know that makes it all the more agonising, and, apologies and all that sort of stuff.
Give us the numbers there.
Katie Taylor's total number of fights.
18. Is that right?
Other boxing aficionado?
I had 19.
19, correct.
Okay.
Bernard Brogan?
I went 6, I think.
Okay, I went to 8.
6, yeah.
7. Fernandes, assists?
I'll put down 18.
13.
12.
There you go.
Ian Hart?
I went 7.
12.
I had 13.
13. Ronnie, you were almost there all the way along. And as can happen with these things, you deduct yourself a couple of points and away we go. So that after that round, Phil on 1 point, Ronan -1, and Will back to 0. So we are very well poised as we head into the final round here. On to the final, and the winner tonight is going to be decided in the round that separates the men from the boys, the Shawnee Maguires from the Harry Maguires. It's the no theme in particular, ridiculously easy rapid fire round. The score you'll get in this round will be added to your scores in the previous round. There'll be 40 seconds for everyone to answer from the same set of questions. We're going to start with the person with the highest number of points, that is you, Phil, and then on to the person in second, that's you, Will, and then on to you, Ronan. If you get a question correct, I'll ask you another question. Keep asking questions till you get one wrong, then we'll move on to the next person, and your incorrect answer will also mean the deduction of 1 point. All clear? Everybody happy?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, we're going to put 40 seconds on the clock now. Phil, who won the 2012 Europa League final?
Porto.
Incorrect. Will, who scored the most recent goal for the women's national team?
Denise Sullivan.
Correct. Which team is the third in the current F1 Constructors' Championship?
Red Bull.
Incorrect. Who do Leinster play in the next United Rugby Championship, Ronan?
Glenetley.
Incorrect. Where did Damien Duff finish his playing career?
Shamrock Rovers.
Correct. Who won the 2019 Six Nations?
Deduct this point.
Was it Wales?
That is correct. And I'm happy to say that means that there isn't going to be any debate about, because they've lost track of all the scores here. I think you ended up with, you got a net total of 1, I think, in that round. We'll put you on 2. You are the winner, Phil. The two lads ended up on minus points. -2 for Ronan, I think, and -1 for you, Will, if I'm right. It doesn't matter.
I was on 0.
Phil is the champion. Will, listen, let's not. It's been Bono me up to this. Surely we're not going to start to rank her now. Well done, Phil. What's your acceptance speech?
Yeah, I don't really know if you. It's one of those where it's like you've taken a strike and it takes a deflection and you don't really want to celebrate it because it was quite fortunate.
You did well. You did well. You got to go as well. So good man.
Yeah,
well
but
done.
Look, at the end of the day, when they do up the stats at the end of the year, it's in the win column.
It'll all count.
Win's a win.
Well
Exactly.
done. Well done, lads.
Cheers,
Tremendously well done. You can podcast the Crappy Quiz on OTBSports.com as well. You can check out the app as well, and do send any questions that you have to us. Now, we have a ton of NFL goodness coming your way this week with the return of the OTB Club Gridiron. It'll have highlights from the snap, reports from games, early bird tickets to events, and much, much more as well. You can sign up for that now, otbsports.com/Club Gridiron, if you want to get that good stuff. And indeed, we'll be including a pre-sale code for you on that newsletter, so it is really important that you go and sign up for it, and we'll do that in a couple of weeks' time ahead of the big game between Northwestern and Nebraska in Dublin. It's in August next year, and that is the best place. otbsports.com/Club Gridiron to keep track on all that. As you may know, that game is upcoming, and because of all that, Owen, who's not beside me in the studio this morning, is actually in Chicago right now taking a look at that Northwestern game this weekend upcoming. Last night, though, he's been busy. He is doing some work. He caught up with some of the touring party. Here he is with Paul Mockler, who's the Head of Commercial Development of Fáilte Ireland, Brendan Meehan, who's the Commercial Director at Irish American Events.
Okay, as you can see, we are here in city centre of Chicago. Northwestern are playing Iowa State on Saturday. We will have plenty of coverage in this on Off the Ball over the next couple of days. Delighted to be joined by Brendan Meehan and Paul Mockler, because there has been a huge story actually from this perspective, Brendan, over the last few hours, that not only are 2022 in the crosshairs at the moment, but 2023 has been confirmed as a fixture in Ireland.
Yeah, we're absolutely delighted to announce that Notre Dame will be playing Navy in 2023 in the second game of the Aer Lingus College Football Classic 5-game series. It's the first time that Notre Dame have ever brought a home game to Ireland, so this is something that's really, really exciting. Hot off the press, was announced just a couple of minutes ago, so it's something we've worked very, very hard on. All our partners, the Fáilte Ireland, Paul and his team, the government, Tourism Ireland, Dublin City Council, the department, Minister Martin and Minister Chambers, and also Aer Lingus, our title sponsor. And without all of those, this would not have happened, and it's been tough negotiations, but we're delighted, and we can't wait to welcome Notre Dame and Navy to Dublin in August 2023.
And just to stress as well, it's a pretty big deal that they're giving up a home game to come to Ireland.
Yeah, no, this has never been done before, and it's not something that Notre Dame do lightly. I think it's a sign of their Irish heritage, and that this is something that means an awful lot to them. So for them to give up a home game, 80,000 seater stadium in South Bend, to give that up, everything that comes with that, and to bring it up and to move this game to Dublin is huge news. So it's really exciting news.
Paul, from the perspective of the Irish economy and Irish tourism, what does a fixture like this mean? And I guess we can talk about 2022 as well as the massive 2023 fixture that's just been announced.
Yeah, Owen, as Brendan has said, Notre Dame are coming home, and they're coming to Dublin, but they're also coming to Ireland. And while it'll have an immediate impact on the economy in Dublin, it's actually going to be an event that will spread visitors right across the country. So yes, in 22 we will have Northwestern and Nebraska. That will have a direct economic impact of about 63 million into the economy, and the following year the big one will surpass that. And these visitors, they don't just stay in Dublin, as I say, they don't just go to watch the football, they will stay and enjoy right across the tourism economy, from golf to business tourism, and they'll visit all of our regions. So it's a significant result for the Irish tourism and hospitality sector, which has been decimated over the last 18 months.
Because that's been one of the things that's been emphasised over the last couple of hours, even just listening to a few of you guys talk, is that Notre Dame fans like to come for the entire experience. Like, people will sit and go to the tailgate, hundreds of thousands of people, and none of them will, a vast majority of them will not get into the game in the States. So there could be that similar element of interest in just coming to Ireland for the whole experience.
They'll come for the experience, but there's also the legacy benefit here. We will be targeting the alumni, we'll be targeting the faculty, and we'll look at what we can do for business tourism. And when we talk about business tourism, we talk about the business of incentive travel, where corporates like to reward their top salespeople. And when we can get people over to experience Dublin, we know that they will come back with their own corporates, their own employees, and they will come to spend significant amounts of money right across the country, but also look at the incentive product like the high-end golf, high-end luxury, and experience the attractions and activities right across the country. So yeah, it's very high spend, very high end, and it will be spread right across the country.
And just one other thing on 2023, Brendan, is that this is a week zero game as well, because that was one of the things that was stressed about the 2020 game, which unfortunately fell victim to COVID, was that week zero is a massive marketing opportunity for everybody involved.
Yeah, no, absolutely, it is indeed. So we've had, college football fans have been starved in the US of college football since January. This is not a charity shield or a pre-season friendly. This is a game that's been plucked out of the competitive calendar. So a game in October, November, and has been brought into week zero. So, the steering committee's goal is that the first game of the college football season, Forevermore Men, will be played in Dublin on week zero, and that's the purpose of this 5-game series. We have 22, we have 23, and we'll keep working on the next 3 years as well.
We're pretty excited about the next couple of days, though. First off, we've got Northwestern against Iowa State. For people who don't know, Northwestern are going to bring a huge, passionate crowd, college football crowd from the Chicago area. They're up against Nebraska next summer in Ireland.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is the first game in the series, and it's brilliant to be here. In the next 2 days, we are being hosted by Northwestern University, and we get tours of Northwestern University, and there'll be meetings, business, academic, educational, sporting, and look at strengthening ties between the university and Ireland, and also creating new ties. And that's something that's very important to us. Our hashtag is much more than a game, and whilst the American football game in Ireland will always be the highlight or the pinnacle of the week, it's our goal to start these conversations a year out. We're just shy of that now, but to start these discussions with Northwestern University, how can we leverage this game? We were in Nebraska a few weeks ago, how can we look at developing these relationships between Ireland and Northwestern University? And they've been great friends of ours over Zoom so far, and we just can't wait to meet them in person over the next couple of days and get to know them a bit better and see how where we can take this.
I guess post-COVID, everybody feels like they're jumping into the deep end, but obviously Notre Dame kind of, in a way, looks after itself. There's such a huge Irish connection to it. How exciting is it to work with two novel universities in an Irish sense, I guess, in Nebraska and Northwestern?
Oh, it's really cool. Like, it's something different. We've been in Chicago before, but we've never been in Northwestern University. And as for Nebraska, one of the things we look at, and when we talk to the likes of the IDA and Enterprise Ireland, who are partners of ours as well, like how can we get into Nebraska? How can we develop relationships further in Chicago? What can we do out of this? As you say, Notre Dame, we know them very, very well, but we're hugely interested in developing these new relationships with these new universities, and we've two cracking universities 2022, and we can't wait to get the ball rolling with those two.
I'm sure you share that sentiment as well, Paul, that idea that, I guess, first of all, when you look at the Nebraska side of things, obviously we're going to see a lot from Northwestern over the next couple of days, but Nebraska, it's just incredible the huge interest in that state, in that college team, and just trying to mobilise that passion for that team and bringing it over to Ireland next year.
Yeah, it's a bit like our county teams or our club teams at home in the GAA. College football over here is such a huge following, and once you've gone to a college, you're part of that college for life. You're alumni, and it's huge. And that's something, as Brendan said, we're going to tap into the corporates, the faculty, the academic side of things. So it's hugely exciting for Ireland. It's going to provide a significant investment into the economy, and it's something that we can't wait to see our entire tourism and hospitality sector reopening and reawakening to in 2022.
And that's it exactly. I think that's a good point to finish it on, Brendan, is this idea that there were so many great ideas that unfortunately had to be shelved as a result of COVID. It's good to be back on the treadmill again, I suspect, and I guess for people who weren't following it, it's surprising in a good way to see 2023 already as a fixture and already locked in.
Yeah, like we signed up for a 5-game series that was originally meant to start in 2020 between Navy and Notre Dame. That game was cancelled. Then in 21 we had Illinois against Nebraska. That game was cancelled. We are chuffed that in our first 2 games we have 3 of those 4 universities coming back to play. We are working with our friends in the University of Illinois, and we hope that they will be part of the 5-game series. And this series now starts in 22, as I said before, without the likes of Aer Lingus, without the likes of the State, Fáilte and Tourism, Dublin City Council and the rest of our private partners. This would not be possible. So to kick off the series now in 22, to get 23 announced, and we won't rest there. We start working on 24, 25, 26 and beyond that.
Yeah, exciting times indeed. Brendan, Paul, thanks a million for your time this evening.
Thanks, Owen. Cheers. Thank you.
That is Eoin Sheehan, who's stateside, keeping a track on all things to do with the American football this weekend. He'll be at that college game. We'll be bringing us back some flavour of that as well. I'm assured that he'll be out and about at the tailgate party, and if he doesn't get too carried away with what's going on in the car park, he'll surely put something together for us and lash it back. So we will bring that to you as soon as we get it as well, hopefully across the weekend or indeed into early next week as well. And as I mentioned a bit earlier on, it is all to do with the Aer Lingus College Football Classic, and it's all to do with Northwestern against Nebraska in Dublin next August, and the pre-sale tickets go on sale from November the 19th. And to find out exactly what's happening with all of that, and much more importantly than any of that, to get your pre-sale code, do jump on to OTB SPORTS /Club Gridiron, and you can sign up to our newsletter, and Alex will be sending that out to you on a weekly basis for the next few weeks. So do sign up there and we'll bring you all the best of it. Right, that's almost it from us for this morning. OTB AM with Gillette, proud sponsors of Movember. Gentlemen, let's mow. We're going to leave you this morning with the Eternal Star Barry Keoghan. It's Marvel's latest offering, and it's in cinemas starting today. We've also been speaking to John Kavanagh, by the way, ahead of Bellator 270. That's tonight in the 3 Arena, and that full chat is over on YouTube, and it's well worth a watch. It's John Kavanagh in conversation with Joseph Conroy, who's also been speaking with Barry Keoghan.
Welcome to Off the Ball.
How are we?
Pretty special night last night, Marvel premiere, yourself up on the big screen, Parnell Street. What's that feel like? Felt like a bit of a homecoming in the room.
It's brilliant, man. It's brilliant. Brilliant energy, and always nice to bring a film home, especially it being a Marvel film. Brilliant energy, yeah.
You got a special shout out afterwards from the champ, Kelly Harrington was in the crowd. What's that like?
Kelly, hats off to Kelly. Honestly, huge admiration for her, and what she's done for the area, and just to see her last night there, and it did make the night very, very special, I must say.
We saw you had some images up, kind of preparing for the film, getting into eternal shape, doing some boxing. Is that something you still get a chance to see much of?
Yeah, as much boxing as I can, really. I love a bit of pad work, bit of sparring. Training is brilliant. I just mentioned it there, but it's not only good to look good, but to feel good mentally. It's brilliant for the mental health, and I train a lot for that reason as well, to feel good and push my day forward.
There was kind of talk before of you maybe stepping into the ring during your acting career. Is that something that would still be on the table in any way, or is that...
Maybe with the cameras up, yeah.
Yeah.
I still train and wherever, and if the chance arises for me to step in do a tournament, I would. I'd love to.
And before you talk about more grassroots things, if kind of, say Eddie Hearn was on the phone tomorrow.
Yeah, definite. You know, I'd love to get in the ring and fight, man. You know, I really would. I've a massive love for boxing. You know, it's beautiful to watch as well. Well, you know, I'd make a movie on it as well. This is what I'm trying to say. There's a movie or two in the line of, you know, I can't really talk about, but yeah.
No problem. And just...
So I will kind of have to get back in the ring anyways to prep.
All right, we'll watch that space.
Mm-hmm.
To set this film up for anyone, any kind of one of the easiest entry points is kind of saying we've got this massive Marvel film building this big universe with Chloe Zhao at the helm, who people might know from Nomadland. On paper, they seem very far apart, but obviously we've got her bridging that gap. What was that experience like?
I mean, I'd work with Chloe, you know, for the rest of my life if I could. You know, and at times it felt very, very indie-like. It's the set she creates and the vibe and very, very intimate, you know, scenes and sets. So yeah, I didn't really. Back to your question, it didn't really feel like a Marvel movie at times, and I don't know what a Marvel movie actually feels like, if you get me. Because I think it's what we create, you know, the pressure and stuff going into a big studio film. But to be honest, it was really, really welcome.
You've spoken in the past as well about kind of her experience with non-actors, you coming not from a traditional kind of, not as a trained actor. Yeah. How important is it for you to kind of work without that training, and do you think it's an advantage to be kind of cutting your own path rather than having that kind of...
Yeah, you know, wasn't really cut out for the training part of it. You know, obviously when I got into acting, you know, I started to delve more into the craft of it and what it's about, and everyone has their own kind of discovery and stuff, and I don't know, my own way kind of, you get me, without the traditional training. So yeah, which I kind of auditioned for. I auditioned for a few schools and never got in, so... Yeah.
Feel like a blessing now, looking back?
Yeah. I don't want to be like everyone else, you know? That's what makes you unique or different or, you know... Yeah.
Exactly, and if you're... I know you've spoken in the past about kind of bringing a rawness and a presence to things. Just the last question. We're talking about kind of working on this Marvel canvas. Does it still feel the same for you in front of the camera? Do you still feel the same rawness?
Yeah, a film set's a film set, you know. It's, you know, I pay every film the same amount of energy and respect and, you know, work ethic and commitment. Rather than, you know, this film deserves that and that film deserves this. You know, once the camera is up, you know, I'm always trying to be honest.
OTB AM.
With Gillette, proud supporters of Movember. Gentlemen, let's move.